System. From Iron Man, the counteroffensive begins. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401 Night Banquet. These are all the minutes related to the inner treasury, which will be very helpful for you to take back your property. I heard from my mother that you have a photographic memory. I believe it should not be difficult for you to memorize these. A thick blue book. The thickness is almost 3 fingers thick. And Fan-Jan does not seem to know nothing about Fan-Zan. These minutes. Father is indeed troubled, but since the inner treasury was created by my mother, although it is handed over to the royal family to manage, can you be sure that, as long as I marry Linwana, the princess will be willing to let go, since she is the princess and Linwana's biological mother, and I'm not well known, just an illegitimate child? Luo Wen took the thick book handed over by Fan-Jan, and began to flip through it casually. The speed was so fast that it could be said that he glanced through it. Flipping through the book is more appropriate than reading a book. Haha, Zana, you don't know that crisis is always accompanied by gains. The inner treasury is originally the inheritance left by your mother. It is natural for you to take over after you come of age. If it were someone else, it would be a no-brainer. Oh, so. Only your majesty has the final say in royal affairs. It is useless if the princess disagrees. Perhaps the assassination you suffered in Danzhou and the challenges you will encounter in the future will come one after another, but I believe you can overcome all difficulties. Besides, your majesty has 4 sons. The eldest prince leads troops outside all year round, and the youngest prince is young. Only the second prince and the prince are the key candidates for the supreme position. The princess has always supported the prince's lineage. Now, do you know how to solve the problems in the future? Fan-Jan looked at the young man who was close to him, and he could feel his extraordinary momentum and calmness more and more clearly. In particular, the shadow of his mother was hidden in him, which made his eyes confused, and he poured out his truest thoughts. They took sides so early. Is it true, or is it a cover-up and the opposite? Huh. Or, it's true and false at the same time. An unmarried princess gave birth to an illegitimate daughter and still has a superior status, and is favored by his majesty. Father, are you sure she is as simple as you imagined? Cuckoo, a long time has passed. The sleepy young man in gorgeous clothes, the noble lady with an indecisive look on her face, and the pretty woman who turned her head to look outside the door from time to time. The low table in front of them was filled with delicious dishes. At least there were a lot of new things compared to the past. Mother, when will father and Danzhou? Fan-Zan finished talking? I'm so hungry that my stomach is sticking to my back and it's rumbling. My eyelids are getting heavier and heavier. I'm hungry and sleepy. Hey, child, how can you be so rude when father and brother haven't arrived yet? However, the food has been heated up twice. Why haven't the master and Ziona come out yet? Second aunt, how about letting me go and take a look? Even if they are meeting for the first time today, they have indeed talked for too long. Whether it is Liu Ruai or Fancies, the issue they are concerned about is certainly not whether Fan-Zan and Fan-Jan will have any conflicts, which will affect the relationship between father and son. Or, do they hope it will be the best? Fan Ruoro is the opposite. The worry written on her face is also from the bottom of her heart. She doesn't want her brother Fan-Zan to come to Kyoto from Danzhou with great difficulty, but end up having an unpleasant quarrel with his father on the first day. Tap, tap, just as they were discussing, 2 unhurried footsteps sounded outside the living room, one old and one young, one dignified, the other handsome and gentle. 2 people with completely different temperaments, but seemed to be quite close, walked into the dining room and the side hall one after the other. Haha, are you done? Master, you are the same. You don't eat. Aren't you afraid of being hungry? Liu Ruai, who came to meet him, only got a cold face from Fan-Jan. She felt a little nervous, and didn't continue to say those hypocritical words. She sat beside him in doubt. Brother, you. Oh, it's okay. Facing Fan Ruoro's concern, Luo Wen gave her a reassuring smile. We have something important to discuss. You go out first. Oh, yes, father. Yes, am I the only one? From the sound of Fan Jian's footsteps, Francis was already silent. His mind was no longer drowsy, and his stomach was no longer pressed against his back. He sat upright with his eyes wide open, not daring to move, for fear that he would not do well, and be scolded again. Francis himself didn't know that, even though he looked the most like his father, he was always criticized, and the least favored one. Until today, when he saw Fan Zion and thought about how his father usually used his sister as a role model, it turned out that the children of other people were much more popular than his legitimate son. Crunch, crunch, cough. He walked slowly, and had phlegm in his mouth. He stood in the living room, and made a weird move and delayed. Francis pricked up his ears, wanting to hear what was being said inside. Why did the whole family exclude him? Get out quickly. Ah, dong dong, dong dong. With Fan Jian's full-blooded urging, Francis ran out with a dong dong dong, fearing that if he was a little slower, he would be beaten up. Squeak, squeak, clear insect chirping can be heard outside the window, but no one is touching the dishes on the table. Liu Ruiyu and Fan Jian have been a couple who have supported each other for many years. How could she not know that her master is now holding back his anger? But why? Fan Zian, who came from Danzhou, smiled faintly, but he drove Zeta out alone. Does the master want to ask me something? Did you send the housekeepers out from Danzhou? Oh, master, you know everything. Danzhou is remote. I mainly want to find a family member to take care of Zana, so I can feel more at ease. Liu Ruiyu's explanation was obviously a little guilty, but Luo Wen could feel that, even if the second concubine had some impure motives, she would not dare to murder Mrs. Fan. She was smart, but not ruthless. She was just a stupid woman who was used by others. That person was in Danzhou, colluding with assassins to poison the Fan mansion. What? How could this be possible? Assassin, poisoning? Impossible. No matter how brave I am, I can't poison Fan's house. If I accidentally hurt my mother, I will be blamed for my death. Liu Ruiyu collapsed to the ground with a plop. Her almond-shaped eyes were full of panic and trepidation. Oh, you don't know? Woo, what do I know? There hasn't been any letter this month. There won't be any more. Mother had his legs broken and thrown into the sea. This man has been away from home all year round, and he actually has a heart of a tiger and a wolf. Fortunately, my mother and Ziona are fine. Otherwise, housekeeper Zhao has confessed everything. He said that he received a secret letter from you, asking him to join forces with the Inspection Institute, to put Fan Zion to death. His tone was clean, but the chill on his face made Liu Ruiyu, who was sitting on the ground, tremble with fear. No, 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 it's impossible. Someone is framing me. Master, I'm innocent. You have to investigate clearly. Woo. Father, I think this matter should have nothing to do with the second aunt. Let her get up. Luo Wen's sudden words not only surprised Liu Ruiyu. No matter whether she was wronged or not, Butler Zhao was indeed sent out by her. If the master was determined to investigate, even if she and Zeta didn't die, they would at least be expelled from the mansion. But why did this wild boy from Danzhou plead for her? And Fan Jian was even more confused. If it wasn't Fan Zion who mentioned this matter, he would come to question her angrily. Now, why did he raise it high and put it down gently? The second aunt is not a cruel person. At most, she is a little more active in thinking, but she would not instigate murder or commit murder behind the scenes. HMM. At this time, Liu Ruiyu only felt that Fan Zion was the kindest person in the world. She was even more annoyed and regretful for her previous calculations against him. Besides, if someone wants to kill me, how can I be willing to call her the second aunt? Yes, Ziona is my junior. I treat him as my own child. How can I let anyone harm him? Luo Wen was calm and confident. Not to mention that Fan Jian suddenly realized the reason for his actions. In order to win people's hearts, he used both kindness and force. Fan Ruoro's eyes were even more blurred, full of admiring little stars. Brother Fan Zion was indeed extraordinary. On the first day of arriving at the Fan mansion, the usually arrogant second aunt was convinced. Second aunt, I'll be grateful for your care in the Fan mansion in the future. Although Ziona is a descendant of the Fan family, he will never get involved in the Fan family business. You can rest assured about this. Besides, we are a family. Ah, yes, we are a family. Zyana and we are a family. Now, Liu Ruiyu finally understood that her little tricks were no match for the young man in front of her. As long as he wanted, she and her son could be kicked out at any time. At this time, she sat up from the carpet, and her pale face became enthusiastic and full of smiles. Chapter 402 Night Banquet 2. Come, Zyana, try this bamboo shoot soup. I heard that you loved it the most in Danzhou, so I asked someone to find it for you. It's a good opportunity for you to try your aunt's cooking and see if it suits your taste. Haha. Francis is back, but not completely back. He just feels that this place is just another fan mansion. The people on the table just look exactly like his own family members. Otherwise, why did his mother say in the afternoon that she would find a way to deal with Fan Zun? But now she treats him like her own son. No, she treats him closer than her own son, picking up dishes and serving rice. Even Francis himself can't remember how many years ago it was that he enjoyed and cared for her like this. Oh, thank you, auntie. You guys should also pick up your chopsticks. How can you just watch me eat alone? Father, you should try it too. This is a Danzhou specialty that grandma asked me to bring you. A loving father and a filial son. No. There is also a loving mother and a filial son. Luo Wen took the rice handed over by Liu Ruiyu and also picked up the public chopsticks. He took the initiative to put the dried fish brought by Xiao and others into the bowls of Fan Jian and Liu Ruiyu and asked them to taste it. Of course, even his sister Fan Ruoro and the stunned Francis were not left out. They also got a chopstick of the crystal clear fish strips. There was not a trace of salty or fishy smell. Instead, it was sweet in the mouth, very refreshing and chewy. Delicious. I didn't expect there is such delicious food in Danzhou. Ahem. Sister, what happened during the time I was out? Why did my mother and Fan Zion become so close? Francis, holding a bowl and chopsticks, quietly moved to the side of Fan Ruoro. It seems that in the heart of this secretive young man, when he really encountered a sad thing, the first person he complained to was his own mother. When he encountered troubles, the resourceful person he thought of was Fan Ruoro, his caring sister. Oh, nothing. They just recognized each other, and everyone will be a family in the future. Ah, Fan Zion? And my mother? Are you kidding? When Fan Zion, also known as Luo Wen, was toasting and exchanging cups with others in the Fan Mansion, the royal family, who was high above the temple, was erupting in a family conflict. In other words, there was no detached person like Luo Wen, let alone his thinking, that jumped out of the game. The royal family was all smart people, but also the most heartless family. Whether it is the high and mighty or the ordinary people, they are all busy and struggling for their own needs. Food, clothing, housing, transportation, power, status, wealth, and want to get more. Or Luo Wen himself, if he did not look down on these most basic ordinary things, he himself would not be a vulgar person. Dong dong, squeak. A very elegant courtyard. The main room is a two-story wooden building in the shape of a Chinese character in the open-air patio. There is also a pool paved with goose warm stones and colorful koi wandering around, which looks particularly lively and interesting. 4 young servants, 4 beautiful maids, are working hard, mopping the floor, cleaning the courtyard, trying to leave a good impression of diligence and hard work in front of their new young master. The servants from Danzhou naturally have to return to Danzhou, and here, of course, there are prepared servants and maids, ready for the second concubine Liu Ruiyu to dispatch at any time. In addition to this main house, there are side rooms and reception rooms for personal maids, as well as study rooms, utility rooms, and small kitchens. Compared with Fan Ruoro's small courtyard, Luo Wen's new residence, which was urgently replaced by the second aunt, is also the best courtyard in the mansion. Creak. Luo Wen and his family said goodnight to each other, holding a document given to him by Fan Jian, and was led to his residence by a maid. Master Fan Zion, this is a residence arranged for you by the second lady. By the way, the young lady has asked someone to send all your luggage here. The servants and maids in the courtyard are at your disposal. I'll take my leave. Okay, I got it. In a new environment, those people who are free and familiar with each other have also been replaced by strangers who strictly abide by the rules of a wealthy family. It will not be a matter of one day or one night to change their ideas of superiority and inferiority. Luo Wen needs to change slowly through the influence of day by day. Master, you're back. Master, do you want to rest now, or do you need to take a bath and change clothes? Shall we go prepare a bath for you? As soon as he stepped into the yard, the busy servants and maids began to greet him, and some came forward to ask about the arrangements. They were clever, gentle, and obedient, as if they had completed the orders given by the master. Oh, I'm tired today. Prepare a basin of hot water for me. You can go down and rest. I want to stay quiet for a while. Ah, how can we rest before the master? Follow my orders, go down. Ah, yes, master. At midnight, which was just 11 o'clock, Luo Wen looked at the wooden boxes in the room, as well as a wooden basin with steam coming out of it, with a new towel on it. He sighed helplessly. Today, he was finally busy. Swoosh. Suddenly, the colorful jade tablet of the formation appeared in the air, and then stuck to the corners of the whole courtyard, and went deep into the ground. The formation starts. In an instant, an invisible spiritual power wave enveloped the whole courtyard. The complex formation has many functions, including gathering spirits, dust removal, seasonal adjustment, warning, and protection. As long as Luo Wen has a thought, this place can be turned into an impregnable safe place at any time. Swoosh. The clothes fluttered in the night. A tall young man nimbly moved into the courtyard of Fan Mansion. He seemed to be looking for something, or to find someone. Knock knock, knock knock. Fan Zion, Fan Zion. I'm Francis. Are you asleep? I have something to ask you. If you don't say anything, I will come in. After dinner, the young man in gorgeous clothes became energetic again. I didn't expect that in such a feudal society. There are also people with modern civilized night owl habits. Creak. At this time, there was not only Luo Wen in the room, but also Teng Zijing who came to visit late at night. No, I just called so many times outside. Can't you hear it? And what are you two grown men doing sitting in the room at night? I don't need to explain to you. Tell me, why do you come to me so late? Luo Wen and Teng Zijing were both fully dressed. Besides, there was a wine pot, peanuts, and spiced broad beans on the low table in the side hall. It was obvious that they were drinking and chatting, not doing that disgusting thing in the bedroom. Oh, I offended you so much this afternoon, and I came here to apologize to you. In order to show my sincerity, I will invite you out of the house for a drink tomorrow. Do you think it's okay? So kind. Why doesn't it look a bit like that? And with this kid's miserly personality, how could he change his attitude towards people so easily? During the dinner today, he just scared Liu Ruiyu, and Francis didn't participate. Okay, I promise you. When the enemy comes, the general will fight. When the water comes, the earth will cover it. How could Luo Wen be afraid of this kid? Creak. Francis, who was still mumbling to himself, closed the door and said goodbye, as if to say, you are not sleeping at night and you are looking for someone to drink. This is only Fan Zion's first day in Beijing. Where are the friends he brought? Okay, brother Teng, the irrelevant people are gone. Shouldn't you explain to me the situation that you didn't explain to me before? Swish. Luo Wen reached into his arms and gently placed a document with the seal of the Ministry of Justice on the table. Chapter 403 Teng Zijing's past. Brother Fan, it's not that I want to hide it from you. I just have too many unspeakable secrets. I'm just an ordinary martial artist. I saw injustice and couldn't bear to see the evil slaves bullying an ordinary couple, so I stepped forward and taught them a lesson. Who would have known? Teng Zijing and Fan Zion have been together for more than a month, so he naturally knows that he is a person with a detached temperament. He despises the troubles of the mortal world and takes everything lightly. Only when he recognizes someone will he treat him sincerely. Although Teng Zijing doesn't want to interfere with the friendly relationship between himself and Fan Zion because of his past and the many involvements, he is not a person who likes to cause trouble to others. But now that Fan Zion took the initiative to ask, and there is the arrest warrant on the table, he has to recall the past. Teng Zijing knows very well that Fan Zion doesn't like trouble, but this brother Fan doesn't like people saying some roundabout nonsense in front of him even more. I only beat up a few evil slaves, but the master behind them was Jiuo Baokan, the son of the current Minister of Rights Jiuo Yaozi. They were powerful people, and I was just a reckless man. Haha, it was because I was ignorant and thought that the world was clear and there was justice under the laws of the country. As a result, I was too naive. I was convicted of the crime of assassinating an imperial official and the order was to execute my entire family. Oh, I didn't expect that this Teng Zijing had such a rough experience behind him. Luo Wen didn't say much. He looked at Teng Zijing, whose face was full of resentment and whose tears could not stop falling, and silently filled the glass in front of him. What's the result? Aren't you alive and well now, and you're even in the Inspection Institute? Yes, I'm alive and well, but I hate it. I hate those corrupt officials who protect each other, and I hate my own innocence even more. If I didn't have martial arts and was useful to some people, wouldn't the grass on my grave be lush and leafy? The Inspection Institute took me into the death row and sealed all my case files. I originally thought that this trip to Dansha was just a normal official business, but in the end, I once again became a chess piece controlled by those big shots. Ha ha, gulp, slap. Teng Zijing wiped the tears from his cheeks and drank the wine in the glass. He didn't want to lose his last dignity in front of this friend, who was younger than himself. Brother Fan, I went back home today. My wife and children are my last relatives, but they are gone. You have the badge of the Commissioner of the Inspection Institute on you, which must have the record of my family's placement. I have no other request, but I hope to know whether my wife and children are safe now. From now on, I will be willing to serve you, Brother Fan. I owe you a life, and I will repay it with the rest of my life. Teng Zijing knelt on the ground with a plop, holding up his personal dagger to show his loyalty. However, there was a bit of strange color on his face, or uneasiness and embarrassment. When Fan Zion was in Danzhou, he could have killed him on the spot, but he let him go. Moreover, after getting along with each other all the way, the two became friends. How strange is life. He did not bring any useful information to Fan Zion, but he came to seek help again, because of his family affairs. This is against the morality between friends, and it is not in line with Teng Zijing's own principles. Get up, you know I'm always generous, especially to my own people. Since Brother Teng is my friend, I will help you. But your wife and children have been away from home for many days. It is possible that the Inspection Institute has arranged for you. However, it is also possible that something unfortunate has happened. You should be mentally prepared for this. He agreed. Sure enough, Brother Fan, no, the Lord is indeed a generous and affectionate person. Brother Fan, you can rest assured about this. I'm sure that, if the person behind the scenes has murderous intentions, the house will not be so tidy. It must be a mess with boxes and cabinets turned over. This means that my wife left with someone else, not killed. My house is remote, and there are hundreds of meters of wasteland around it. There is no need to be so troublesome. Oh, then I will set off for the Inspection Institute tomorrow to find the case files related to you. By the way, since my father knows that you are faking your death to escape, the others may not be able to hide it for long. If you act alone outside, it is inevitable to alert the enemy and give up your life in vain. Stay with me as a guard, just as a way to hide your identity. Luo Wen has just arrived in Kyoto, and someone is going to use a woman to stop him halfway in order to tarnish his reputation, and the mysterious Emperor King secretly helped and set up an inexplicable test in the so-called King Temple. He also met a gentle, lovely, and pure girl. Francis has only solved half of the second concubine of the Fan family. Who knows how far Fan Ruoro's anonymous book will affect. Well, now here comes Teng Zijing, who has a miserable life. If it weren't for the identity of Fan Zion assigned by the system, why would Luo Wen have been so disaster-ridden? I'm afraid a lot of time would have to be spent on these miscellaneous tasks. Alas, how difficult is the world of ordinary people. I don't know if Fan Zion in the original drama has opened other heaven-defying plugins like me. Otherwise, with only Wazoo and the so-called unknown internal skills, how can an illegitimate son of the Fan family stir up the situation in the King Kingdom? How can he face the great Master King D with unknown intentions and face these difficult tests? The next day, clatter, clatter, on the busy street, a heroic woman in a red dress was galloping on a horse, and behind her was a civilian man carrying food on his back and a bag of flour in his hand. This was Kyoto, a place with the strictest etiquette. Such a bold active man and a woman riding on the same horse. The pedestrians on the road were all pointing and talking about it. Gee. It was a pity that the heroic woman in red didn't care about these, but focused her eyes, carrying the short country chef behind her, thinking about making a delicious meal for her friend as soon as possible. In the midst of the lightning, the cook behind him did not dare to get too close. Unfortunately, the horse's hooves were clanging, and the ups and downs were so close that it was inevitable that he would be distracted. He was even more afraid of falling off the horse's back and becoming paralyzed. He quickly placed the flour bag across his back and abdomen, and then straightened his body tightly, not daring to think about it anymore. He was brought to Kyoto in a hurry just to cook, and everything else was left to his own devices. What's more, although this woman is beautiful and attractive, her identity is really scary, and he must not have any fantasies. Sigh. With a sudden stop of the horse, the woman in red finally arrived at the destination on horseback, and the man sitting behind her also quickly turned over and got off the horse. The paleness and panic on his face could be regarded as acquired relief. Russell. The woman tied the reins to the horse tying stone pile outside the gate. This is obviously a configuration only for wealthy families. On the gate with high steps and towering walls, which looks very noble, there are 3 big characters Ziang Yuan written on it. Let's go. Yes, miss. This is the royal courtyard. The people living in it are naturally members of the royal family. However, the owner here, because of his special status, is not known to outsiders. Carved beams and painted phoenixes, pavilions, and towers, gurgling water. There are many elegant things in between. The royal garden is even more magnificent, far better than ordinary wealthy families. The short cook who walked quickly with his head down was also shocked in his heart, and dared not look at it for too long. In a two-story embroidery building, a fairy-like woman in white was concentrating on embroidering a silk painting. The stitches were dense, and the butterfly and peony in the painting were vivid, showing the woman's superb embroidery skills. If Luo Wen saw this person, his heart would definitely be moved. Isn't this the temple girl who impressed him so much? Miss, it's time to drink the medicine. Oh, the girl's originally focused and pure expression suddenly frowned. Looking at the tea-colored medicine in the jade bowl, she couldn't help but look a little cold. Gurgle, exhaled a big breath, held her breath, pushed the spoon aside, and swallowed the good medicine in the small bowl in 2 or 3 mouthfuls. No matter how bad the medicine was, it was still hanging on her life, and the girl didn't need others to persuade her. Wana, come out quickly, I'll treat you to chicken legs today. A clear female voice suddenly rang out in the courtyard, and Wana recognized that it was the voice of her best friend, and she was delighted, and stood up, and walked out the door. Oh, miss, be careful, it's windy outside, miss. Chapter 404, Best Friend. Haha, Wana, you don't have to be sneaky anymore. Chicken legs, pork elbows, chicken feet, eat whatever you want. Hey, hush, why are you so loud? Are you afraid that other people in the mansion can't hear you? The woman in red has a cheerful personality and is bold and unrestrained in her behavior, just like a child of the Jianghu. Wana, who was walking downstairs, didn't want the servants in the mansion to hear her indecent hobbies as a glutton and tell her father and mother, but she was more happy and excited to see one of her few close friends coming to visit her, rather than a little worried. Cough, but just as she walked into the quiet and elegant courtyard, Wana, who was wearing a white long dress, was coughing repeatedly in the breeze. Her delicate and fair face, which didn't have much blood color to begin with, looked even paler at this time. Oh, Wana, why are you coughing again? Go downstairs and get ready first. Creak. The short cook turned around and left with the maid in the mansion, while the woman in red stepped on the pebbles on the path and hurriedly walked towards Wana, and even used the red windshield on her body to block the breeze outside the house for her. It's okay. You'll get used to it slowly, after coughing a little. Miss Yi, you haven't told me yet why you came here so excitedly today. Is there something new you want to tell me? The caring and concern of her best friend made Linwana smile brightly. After the two of them sat in the pavilion in the yard where the vegetable basket was placed, several pretty maids in gauze skirts carefully lowered the gauze curtains around them. Linwana has been frail and sickly since she was a child. She cannot stand the wind. She would cough at the mildest and spit out blood at the worst. People can't help but feel pity and sympathy for her. What's more, Linwana has a gentle temperament and is very considerate to others. The servants in the mansion are also more serious and attentive in their words and deeds. Yesterday I went outside the city to watch people performing with knives, and I heard someone say that there's a cook in the country who can make all kinds of meat flavors with grains, vegetables, and beans. Not only are they delicious, but the key is that he can make them look like what they are. So I specially found him to satisfy your craving. How about I treat you well? The woman in red called Miss Yi. Although her behavior is unrestrained, she is extroverted, but also delicate in mind. She has the inner beauty that is unique to women, and can be regarded as a model of both inner and outer cultivation. Oh, you are so thoughtful. Wana knows that you treat me the best. HMPH, that's right. As long as Awana wants to eat something delicious in the future, I will bring it to him. Don't be embarrassed or afraid to trouble me. Don't forget that we are best friends. Well, thank you, Miss Yi. It's a pity that I have the body of a lady, but the life of a maid, and it is so difficult for me to eat meat. Cough, cough. Linwana didn't say a few words before she felt uncomfortable all over again. Her frown showed that she was particularly uncomfortable at the moment, but she gritted her teeth and didn't shout out. Her face was full of determination and she couldn't bear to see others worry about her, which made people feel even more distressed and pitiful. Oh, why are you coughing up blood again? Did you catch a cold when you went to the temple yesterday? Lady Yi put down the basket in her hand. Although she was of noble status and there were maids everywhere in the mansion, as a close friend of the two since childhood, she would never hesitate to do anything within her ability for Wana. Picking vegetables was just a trivial matter. Hoo-hoo. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. It's just that we went to the temple yesterday. Swish. She was trembling all over, and cold sweat oozed from her forehead the previous second. The next second, the pain disappeared. I don't know what Linwana thought of. Her face suddenly became shy, and there was a strange glow in her eyes again. Or maybe it was because she remembered some beautiful pictures and someone, that the pain in her body dissipated so quickly. Why did Wana suddenly become a little strange? Are you okay? It's okay. It's okay. Although Linwana is weak and has a gentle and kind personality, she can be a little blunt sometimes. There are some things in her heart that she doesn't want to say. No matter how you ask, it's useless. The woman in red obviously understood this and sat back half puzzled and half puzzled, just thinking that when Wana wants to talk, she will ask her in detail. Wana, I will go out of the city another day and find your hidden genius doctor who will definitely cure your stubborn disease. I don't know how many ordinary famous doctors have been invited, and the imperial doctors in the palace are even more helpless. The vicious Lady Yi is just competing with herself and can't bear to see Linwana always in such pain. Well, it's just that, in this situation, even if my disease is cured, I can't be happy. Moved by her friend's kindness and sincerity, Linwana nodded, but a hint of difficulty crept up her brows. Are you still thinking about the arranged marriage? I know my body better than anyone else. I may die at any time. Why bother with the engagement and let? Don't talk nonsense. It's not worth humiliating yourself for an illegitimate child you've never met. Obviously, Ms. Yi knew a lot about everything that happened to Linwana. Maybe in her understanding, Linwana was the best woman in the world. Even if she had a hidden illness, no man was worthy of her. But now, Linwana looked down on herself and spoke for others. She couldn't get angry just thinking about it. Alas, here's an illegitimate child, and I'm also an illegitimate daughter. In terms of status, there is no difference between him and me. You, Awana, are a princess, and there is a world of difference between him and me. He is just an unknown wild boy who grew up in a remote place in Danzhou. Humph. As if she was still not satisfied, the woman in red snorted coldly. I grew up in secrecy all my life. The so-called princess identity is all false. Even if I'm really a princess, so what? I can't make the decision to find someone who shares the same mind with me. Huh. Lin Wana stood up and looked at the small world outside the veil, in a daze. He and I'm afraid that we will only have that one chance in this life, right? HMPH, if someone else makes you unhappy, I will definitely rush up and beat him up to vent your anger. But this matter, it was the most powerful emperor in the world who personally issued an edict to grant the marriage contract. The woman in red was angry and helpless. She stood up and puffed her cheeks, but did not dare to say the second half of the sentence. Okay, I know you are doing this for my own good. Although I'm weak, I'm stubborn. If you want to marry me, you can't rely on the emperor's edict, and you can't use me to seize the royal financial power. The person I want to marry has only one condition. Having made up her mind, Lin Wana's face showed a delicate but admirable persistence. Apart from a blush, the rest was resolute and serious. Oh, what's the condition? Oh, I have to like him in my heart. Lin Wana boldly expressed what she thought in her heart, with expression and emotion integrated into one. She seemed to have seen clearly the path she would take in the future. Wow, Wana, what you said is so good. Yes, I have to find someone I like in the future. She was moved, and the woman in red also thought of her girlish thoughts at this time. Her face was dyed with 2 blushes, which was also very beautiful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405 Silly Boy. Where are you taking me? It sounds shallow on paper, but the woman in red is a real actionist. She took Lin Wana's soft hand and walked out. Oh, we can't resist his majesty, but why should we be afraid of a Mifanzian? Let's go. I'll go to him and talk it out face to face so that he can weigh his own weight. It's best if he asks the emperor to cancel the engagement, otherwise I'll beat him so hard that his father won't recognize him. Lin Wana, who has always disliked fighting, has made the only exception with this good friend. But isn't it a bit too embarrassing to rashly go to a stranger who has never met before and threaten him with force? Hey, miss, where are you going? Creak, creak. The pretty little maid in the pink and green gauze skirt, holding her mistress's windpen in her hand, quickly chased after them. She was just listening in a daze outside the pavilion. Why did Missy suddenly want to take her mistress out of the house? Besides, you can't catch a cold again, otherwise your body won't be able to bear it. HMPH, we are going to cancel your lady's engagement. Let's go. Creak, creak. Lin Wana was forced to go out, and the maid in the pink and green gauze skirt, seeing that she couldn't stop him, had to follow him. Ta-ta, ta-ta, creak, creak. The carriage of the fan mansion. This time, not only the single horse was replaced with a double horse, but even the family emblem and the carriage were upgraded. Teng Zijing, dressed as the guard of the fan mansion, began his first day as Luo Wen's garden driver. In the fresh and natural carriage, Luo Wen was wearing a black gown, and on his calm and handsome face, there was a gentle smile as he chatted with Fan Ruoruo. However, Francis, who was sitting on the other side, avoided his gaze and showed anxiety, just like he took the initiative to invite Fan Zion out of his house for a banquet this time, and there was some ulterior motive. Luo Wen disdained to monitor other people's privacy from time to time outside his own small courtyard. However, they were all ordinary people and did not pose any threat to him. He just had to have a perspective of being in the middle of it, holding the loot half covered and being sober while everyone else was drunk. Otherwise, how could he experience the fun of this plot world? And Luo Wen had nothing to do, so if he wanted to spend the long 30 years, he had to find some fun or entertainment, such as changing the plot occasionally, running the Spark workshop privately, training some secret organizations and forces of his own, or getting to know more interesting people. He had been single for so many years, and it was about time for him to move forward. The wish of his parents in the main world could not be delayed. The girl he met in the temple was pretty good. Ruoro, are there any good restaurants in Kyoto? Sis said he wants to treat us to an apology today. Why don't you recommend one? Okay, brother, I haven't been to a restaurant for a long time. I'm a little craving for food. Let me think, which one has good food and a pleasing layout to whet my appetite? Fan Ruoro had a playful and funny expression on her face. She felt that something was wrong with Francis. She had been with him day and night since she was a child and was very familiar with his temperament and character. She also guessed that this guy would not treat us to a meal so simply. He must have done something bad secretly and now he has revealed his tracks. Don't. It was agreed that I would apologize, and I have chosen the restaurant. Fan Zion, how can you let your sister make the decision? It's over. It's over. They must have seen something. TSK, why am I so impatient? As soon as he opened his mouth, Francis knew that his panic and humility had been exposed. The key point is that he had told the servants in his yard last night to disguise themselves and rush over to teach Fan Zion a lesson when he went out. This sister is also in the carriage. The young man driving the carriage is very imposing and has a muscular body. Everything is a mess. I'd better find a chance to slip away. If they ask about it later, I'll say that I went back to the mansion to ask for help. Yes, that's it. Oh, so this is what sincerity is? Luo Wen was also a little confused. Why did Francis dislike him? His mother changed her attitude and dared not play any tricks anymore. Could this little fat guy act privately without discussing it with his mother? No. How is that possible? Francis, always keep my word. Okay, then you guys decide on the table. But, sister, dear sister, I didn't bring much money with me when I went out today. Can you, be more considerate of your brother's difficulties? You have difficulties? You have always been greedy for money, so you must have saved up a lot of pocket money. Besides, why are you so stingy when I'm treating your sister and brother to a meal? Fan Ruoro smiled especially cunningly, like a little fox who saw through all of Francis' thoughts. Of course, this fat little hamster could not escape her palm. Oh. Stop the car. Stop the car. Let the wild boy from Danzhou get off. That's right. Get off quickly, or we won't be polite, okay? A group of 6 people, even if they changed out of the clothes they wore in the mansion, but they still lacked confidence and their performance was also lacking. They lacked the rogue spirit of real street thugs. Even if they were brave enough to shout and scream, they didn't have the slightest bit of ferocity. Even so, they were still far from the standard of a bad slave in a wealthy family. Someone is stopping the car. Sister, Fan Zion, I'll go down to the mansion to ask for help. You guys stay hidden carefully and wait for me. Stop. Who allowed you to get off? They are just a few minions. There are guards outside, and I and your brother are here. Why are you panicking? With a cold snort, Fanruru frowned and scared Francis so much that he retracted his outstretched hands and feet back to his seat obediently, just like a primary school student who was punished by the teacher to stand, lowering his head and shrinking his hands and feet, not daring to breathe. Swish, swish, with shouts. It hurts. It hurts. Hero, spare me. Woo woo, we were wrong. Stop hitting us. Master, help us. We are going to be beaten to death. Master. Francis was trembling. His face turned green. He didn't expect that the servants in his yard were so weak and stupid. It would be fine if he was beaten, but why did he bite him out? Oh, so this is my brother's apology to me? Then I understand. Otherwise, let's go back now and don't have to eat the banquet, lest someone be unwilling and unable to eat when seeing me. Humph. Francis. No. Sister. Fan Zion, listen to my explanation. This has nothing to do with me. Someone must have framed me. How can someone recognize a young master randomly? Don't you think so? Besides, I sincerely invited you to dinner. You don't have to go back. Let's go. Any restaurant you choose. Don't be polite to me. Miscalculated. Really miscalculated. I didn't expect Fan Zion, the personal bodyguard, to have such amazing martial arts. Alas, if I go back, won't everything be exposed? Forget it, forget it. Let's find a way to make up for the lighter day and then find a way later. Francis looked at the subordinates lying on the ground outside. He didn't dare to move his feet at this time. He licked his face and showed off a silly smile, indicating that the people outside had nothing to do with him. Haha, sis, use your heart and brain more when you do things in the future. Even if you want to find someone to beat me up, you should spend money to find real thugs. You save this little money. When you go back, your mother will deduct your pocket money. You will go to the servants to treat their injuries, and you will be punished. Why bother? Brother, don't tell him. Just let him suffer more losses and be fooled more. Maybe he can learn to be smarter. God Teng, take us to Yishiju. The food there is pretty good. Huh. Francis was confused. Compared with going home and being punished by his mother, Yishiju made him feel extremely painful. If he went in for a meal, his wallet for today would be ruined, right? Yes, miss. Chapter 406, Yishiju. There are many delicacies and novelties in Kyoto, and they are too numerous to mention. In this feudal society, where technology is a little backward and human rights are not valued, there are all kinds of romantic stories and martial arts legends, and material enjoyment may be better than modern civilization. The royal family is majestic, the powerful are numerous, and the rumors about the wealthy families are also talked about with great relish. The poor people at the bottom, in addition to running around for a living every day, have no time to worry about the general situation in the world, and there is no change of mind. The whole society can be said to be a world of divisions, with the upper class living in debauchery and the lower class living in a state of numbness. Unfortunately, Luo Wen's ability is limited. Or, without the mandatory requirements of the system tasks, he can't manage everything in the world. There are so many people. He doesn't have the mind to do the unification of the world every time he arrives in a world. He just lets the Spark Shop spread more excellent products and skills in private, and use the profits to light up the endeavor and freedom fire of many ignorant people. Master, we're here, at least in the capital of King, this prosperous world with a population of 1 million. The pedestrians and businessmen coming and going on the streets are already and energetic. There are few people who are poorly clothed or skinny. The dense crowd was like a stream of carp crossing a river. The dense crowd of passers-by was shoulder to shoulder. The shops along the street, the roadside vendors, men and women, old and young, formed a prosperous and noisy picture. The ground on the street was basically paved with bluestone, with few traces of mud. Although it was not very flat, it was at least much better than the lowest road outside the city. Teng Zijing lived in Kyoto and was familiar with various place names and attractions. He drove the carriage and took half an hour to send the 3 people in the carriage to the place. Porcelain, fine porcelain. Spices, sachets, fine spices, sachets, don't miss them. If you pass by, come and have a look. Candied haws, ice copper gourds. Fresh vegetables, sir, buy some to take back. Calligraphy and painting, works of famous artists, don't miss it. I know astronomy and geography, and I can tell the past, marriage, career, and fortune. 3 noble sons dressed in brocade and jade clothes got down from a luxurious carriage, 2 men and 1 woman. The one walking in front had the tallest figure, and her appearance and temperament were rare in the world. The girl walking shoulder to shoulder with him was also a rare, fresh and refined lady, but the slightly fat young man walking behind seemed a little less outstanding, and had a bitter look on his face. As if he was in a bad mood. Master, I'll find a place to park the carriage. Oh, Oklahoma, we'll wait for you inside. With the sound of horse hooves, Teng Zijing drove the carriage to the open space next to him, and placed the carriage properly under the command of the neatly dressed servant. Brother, this is Yishiju. How is it? It's magnificent, isn't it? There are no less than 30 or 40 carriages parked on both sides of the 3-story gate with flying eaves and beasts. The guests coming in and out are all talking and wearing gorgeous clothes. It's quite grand. Let's go in, sis. Fan Zion, sister, isn't this place a little expensive? How about we go to Lei Fialao? No, we agreed to go here. Do you want to go in? Otherwise, I'll go back and tell father and mother that you instigated the servants to commit crimes outside today. Hiss, come in. At most we can change wallets. Let's go. Rustling, sir, miss, do you want a book? Luo Wen, Fan Ruoro, and Francis and his party had just stepped off the carriage when they were spotted by a young woman holding a baby in her arms. Under the baby's swaddling clothes, there was a book with a pink cover, which she showed to the handsome and pretty young man and lady. Red Mansion? Haha, young master, young lady, you are obviously cultured people. This book Dream of Red Mansions is very famous in Kyoto, and everyone knows it. Also, if you don't like this one, we also have Journey to the West and Strange Stories from a Chinese studio, but you need to wait for me. I have to find someone to replace these two books. Fan Ruoro looked at Luo Wen, who stopped and blushed for no reason. She had circulated this book privately, but she didn't expect that someone would sell it, and the key point was that it was sold to brother Fan Zan. What should I do? The smiling book-selling woman should be around 10 years old, but definitely not more than 30 years old. She looked ordinary. As she turned her head and looked around, she glanced at the sleeping baby in the bundle. She was so nervous and cautious, afraid that someone would find out, that it really made people feel sympathy for her, and felt that life was not easy. Oh, there are only Red Mansions, Journey to the West, and Strange Stories from a Chinese studio? There is no other book about the origin of the world? Hissing. Ah, young master, everyone only knows about the 3 great books. How did you know that we have another book about the origin of the world? This book is too obscure and difficult to understand. Few customers buy it. Although it is written by a literati, it is far less popular than the other 3. If you want it, I can make a special trip for you now, but you need to wait a little longer. Although the young woman dared to contact the young men and young ladies of these wealthy families by selling books, she had seen them so many times that she had gradually gotten used to it. But the 2 young ladies today were fine. Although they were elegant and beautiful, they were also stunning. However, this young man was like the exiled immortal written in the book. He was really too handsome. It made people feel flustered and ashamed just by looking at him. Oh, it really exists? By the way, how much does this Dream of the Red Chamber cost? Oh, no problem. You are so extraordinary. I will give you a 10% discount today. The original price is 8 taels. You just need to pay 7 taels and 2 cents. What? I have only heard of people asking for a high price, but paying it back. The woman's original price of 8 taels already shocked Fan Ruoro and Francis. They never thought that she would take the initiative to give Fan Zion a discount. Why? Just because he is handsome? Is she treating him differently? No need. Beilayang. I've bought this copy of Dream of the Red Chamber, but I want to ask, if I buy more, who should I look for? Well, thank you very much, sir. If you want to buy more, I can take you to the back alley alone. We all have to find someone to get our books. He has all the 4 great books. The woman swiftly took the 8 silver coins handed over by Luo Wen. As for Fan Zion, who had nothing in his pocket, how did he reach into his arms and take out a large purse? Fan Ruoro and Francis were not in the mood to think about it at this time. Brother, why are you still paying for the book? Yeah, Fan Zion, this is too dark. In an ordinary bookstore, a book of the same size only costs a few hundred wen, and at most 3 or 4 liang. I have never heard of this book, and she dares to sell it to you for 8 liang. Isn't this robbery? It doesn't matter. I think the book is worth the price. You go inside and order the food first. I'll be back soon. Please lead the way. Haha, young master is generous and knows the value of things. Please follow me. The young woman, who was eager to get closer to the handsome young man, was holding the swaddling clothes and excitedly led Luo Wen into the alley on the side. Sister, is Fan Zion stupid? He's obviously being taken advantage of. Besides, how can he be so rich as a wild boy from Danzhou? He can buy a book for 8 taels of silver? Unlike Fan Ruoro, who was still feeling uneasy and guilty about her private behavior that brought such trouble to her brother Fan Zion, Francis seemed to have forgotten that Fan Zion was his enemy. He spoke to him as if they were a family. The most interesting thing was that he seemed to be slow to react in other aspects. but when he heard the word money, he was particularly excited and in high spirits. He was indeed the biological son of Fan Jian, the assistant minister of the Ministry of Revenue. Don't talk. You talk about money all the time. You're obsessed with money. You haven't made any progress in your studies, so your father is very disappointed in you. Why did we suddenly talk about studying? Okay, sister is teaching us. Let's go in first and see how many books Fan Zion will buy. Chapter 407. Meet the miser again. Sir, please, we are almost there. Haha. The young woman with a happy face was not only happy that she had taken risks to earn money today, but also excited to spend a short time with this gentle and handsome gentleman. Oh, Oklahoma. Walking in from the street, ordinary people would probably back off, fearing that they would encounter a honey trap. Only a master like Luo Wen, who was full of confidence, looked calm, as if he didn't care at all. Sir, when you buy books later, you can bargain with the boss. He sells more and earns more, and the risk of being caught is smaller, so he should give you some profit. Oh, this woman actually helped the guests to discredit her boss. Was it because Luo Wen was too charming, or was it because her boss was too rich and unkind, and deducted too much from their wages? Shasha, this book is selling better and better. How many copies did you sell today? I sold one book this morning. This is the second one. How about you? It's the third one. The boss said he would give me a commission of 1 or 2 taels for each book. If I work for a few more days, I can buy a small house outside the city and don't have to live with my mother-in-law and brother-in-law. The women coming and going were all the same as the one who led Luo Wen in. They were dressed in coarse clothes of the common people. Apart from the energy she showed and the child in her arms, her ordinary looks were her biggest feature. Wow, how come such a handsome young man came in? Is he here to buy books too? I don't think so. He might be here to discuss business with the boss. Remember this, everyone. If an official comes to check, you must turn around and leave. Don't be greedy for the profit of selling books and get entangled with others. Keep your eyes and ears open. Remember this. Haha, a familiar voice suddenly sounded from a distance of more than 10 meters, and Luo Wen also showed a playful expression. He never thought that the person who resold the pirated books behind the scenes was Wan Kinyan, who used the graffitied map to blackmail people. Young master, the one over there is our boss. You go and talk to him. I'll take my leave. Oh, thank you. With a rustle, the woman who turned and left couldn't help but turn around and take a few more glances. Luo Wen had already passed those women who were secretly looking at him and quietly walked behind Wan Kinyan, who was lying on the recliner with tea and snacks beside him, a large bag of unjust enrichment, and a palm leaf fan covering his face. Brother Wang. His swish. Oh, you almost scared me to death. It turns out to be Master Fan. What are you doing? Luo Wen's call close to his ear almost made Wan Kinyan's heart stop. And when he stood up incredibly quickly and reached out to take the purse, it was obvious that he had extraordinary king kung fu and valued money more than his life. Selling maps and peddling books, it seems that Brother Wang's business is very extensive. Haha, Master Fan, you are joking. These are just small things. How can they compare to the Fan family's wealth? Just move your fingers and countless people will rush to curry favor with you. Wan Kinyan breathed a sigh of relief. He was really very happy these 2 days. A map was sold at a sky-high price of 100 taels, and the 4 great books secretly printed made him see a road to wealth. He even doubted whether this Master Fan Zion was his destined nobleman. Since he appeared, good things have been happening one after another, which is really exciting. A copy of Red Mansions is sold for 8 taels. Just this morning, Brother Wang must have made a profit of hundreds of taels. It's really like making a fortune every day. Hiss, just a simple glance. How could he know how much silver money I have in my bag? And how did he know that from this money we have to deduct the profit sharing with the printing workshop for smoothing relations? Mr. Fan, you are too modest. I'm just an errand boy. I earn hard-earned money. It is not worth mentioning. Not worth mentioning. Haha. Oh, really? I heard that Brother Wang is a clerk of the Inspection Institute, in charge of archives and minutes. Luo Wen has always been good at using people. He would not do things by himself if he could solve them with money. This Wankinian likes money and happens to be in charge of archives. Although he is not from the 4th division, with him as an old hand, he is certainly more familiar with the place than a rookie inspector like me. Mr. Fan's teacher is Mr. Fei, the head of the 3rd division. No wonder he revealed my identity in one sentence. I wonder what Mr. Fan wants to ask me this? I may go to the inspection institute later. My teacher is not in Kyoto because of his life. I think Brother Wan will definitely be willing to be a guide for me. Is it just that simple? But Fan Zan's eyes are clear and sincere. It shouldn't be like there is another meaning, right? Besides, he also felt that the 100 teals of silver yesterday were a little hot. This person kept calling me Brother Wang, which seemed very close. That's all. Okay, then I'll wait for Mr. Fan in the inspection institute. Haha, Luo Wen still needs to confirm whether this Wankinian is a trustworthy person. Because so far, in addition to being smooth, worldly, and greedy, Luo Wen also needs to see a belief, the belief that everyone has a bottom line in doing things. It's a pity that Wankinian hid it too deeply. Luo Wen couldn't see it clearly with just a pair of naked eyes. Thank you, Brother Wang. Outside the gate of Fan's house, an elegant and luxurious carriage was parked. Judging from its appearance, the patterns on it, and the pink and white gauze curtains, it should be used exclusively by female relatives. Creak, creak, miss, I just asked the doorman, and he said that Fan Zan is not here. They had already gone to the restaurant before we came. Cough, cough, restaurant? Well, this kid from Danzhou is so free and easy. He has only been in Kyoto for a few days, but he is already enjoying himself so soon. Humph. The indignant girl in red saw Linwana coughing, and her face full of disappointment. She started to speak up for her, as if she felt that Wana had come to him with so much trouble, and suffered all these hardships, because of Fan Zan. Cough, cough. Oh, Wana, are you okay? Linwana just covered her mouth with a silk scarf, while the girl in red quickly lowered the curtain with a look of concern. After Linwana took a breath and nodded, the girl in red also looked thoughtful, thinking about the next course of action. Wana, how about this? The second concubine of the Fan family is at home. We can talk about it in front of Liu. Well, His Majesty has decided on our marriage without my consent. Although I'm not happy about it, I should not do to others what I do not want others to do to me. Fan Zion may not be willing to do so. Even if I want to cancel the engagement, I should tell him in person in front of him. This. Wana, should I say you are stupid or kind? The girl in red held Linwana's little hand, as if she were a caring sister. Forget it, no matter what you decide, I will help you. Oh, I'm so weak, but I'm so willful. Linga, thank you for your hard work. Oh, silly girl. The two hands were tightly clasped, and the four looked at each other and smiled. The deep sisterly love between the women was expressed vividly. Yi Linga is a daughter of Yi Zhang, the garrison commander of Kyoto. She also has Yi Liuan, one of the four great masters, as her backer. Her martial arts are also far superior to ordinary people. This is the real reason why few people dare to say anything about her despite her rebellious and bold behavior. Chapter 408 Fan's Talent. Wow, tut tut tut, this shiju is in an excellent location, with both geographical advantages and excellent materials. Alas, it's a pity for my wallet. Francis, who was leaning on the railing and looking out, was analyzing the flow of people coming and going on the street at this time, calculating the number of customers entering each store, and muttering to himself, crying and laughing, just like a second-generation rich man. In the elegant and quiet private room, Teng Zijing leaned quietly against the balcony window, looking at the lively street scene below, but his face was sad, as if he was thinking of his wife and children who didn't know their current situation. As for Fan Ruoruo, as a lady of a noble family, she shouldn't show up easily. Now she is outside the mansion again, and every move is a noble demeanor. Sitting quietly at the low table, facing the table full of delicious food, she is not moved at all, sipping tea and thinking about how she should apologize after Fan Zan comes back, and ask him what he will do next. Tap, tap, how come all the dishes are served? Is the serving speed of this restaurant very efficient? Ah, brother, you're back. TSK, country bumpkin, don't you see what season it is? These are seasonal vegetables and cold dishes. Yishiju has long launched a semi-finished product processing business model, so naturally the serving speed is very fast. Seeing Fanzan coming back, especially that face, that made people jealous and unrecognizable, Francis was furious, and as for the previous action of helping to bargain, it was also thrown behind his mind. Francis, you're starting again, aren't you? TSK pouted, just felt extremely unlucky. Although Francis was helpless, he had to bow his head under the eaves. Now that someone was holding the handle, he had no choice but to give in. Fanzan, I'm outspoken, please don't blame me. He cupped his hands, looking reluctant, and then sat on the stool by himself, without any intention of being polite to Luo Wen. Brother, several books are now widely circulated among the women of various mansions. I don't know where they leaked from. It's all my fault, Fan Ruoro said with a face full of self-blame, tears streaming down her face, as if she was about to cry out loud the next moment. Hey, we agreed not to mention this matter. How could I blame you for such a small matter? Don't worry, compared to the books being stolen, Ruoro's happiness is more important to me. I originally wrote these for you to read. Oh, TSK. Francis had a look of disgust on his face. He really couldn't understand. How could his sister be so bewitched by such sweet words? In front of Fanzan, she is a cute kitten, but in front of him, she is a tiger mother. Why is she treated so well? Crunch. Turning anger into strength, Francis didn't care how the brother and sister over there expressed their emotions. He picked up the chopsticks and started to compete with the food. Oh, by the way, do you know, I just did a rough calculation. The sales of books outside are quite a lot in the recent period. Fan Ruoro's face was red, her eyes were full of happiness and joy, and Teng Zijing sat on Luo Wen's right hand, just holding the wine glass, silently. He didn't drink much, but his alcohol tolerance was also very good. Besides, people with high skills are bold, and there is no such thing as drunk driving check in this world. But while eating, Francis suddenly put down his chopsticks, and then moved his face closer, and began to carefully look at Luo Wen's face, as if in addition to that annoying handsome face, there was also some special and curious characteristics on it. Oh, what do you mean? Luo Wen didn't drink, but just held the chopsticks, and tasted every dish carefully, and he accepted all the dishes that Fan Ruoro picked up to please him, and did not stop her. But I want to ask you first, did you really write those books, Fanzan? No, I guess so. These books do not exist in this world. Although he is a despicable plagiarist, since there is no original author to ask for the copyright, Luo Wen has nothing to regret admitting. It's just a pity that no one paid attention to the book The Origin of the World he wrote himself. It contains a complete set of modern scientific knowledge from shallow to deep, and it also contains some of Luo Wen's own understanding of the rules of heaven and earth. Although the spiritual energy in this world is extremely thin, if you really understand the key, you can completely enter the Tao in one day, truly step into the ranks of cultivators, and completely enter a new world. It should be noted that the so-called martial arts masters praised by the world have barely reached this level, and their potential for acquired development has come to an end. Yes, no, and you still say yes. It's really boring. Okay, Fanzan is the author, so he's awesome, okay. Facing Fan Ruoro's fierce gaze, Francis couldn't resist it, and waved his hands in denial. Fanzan, do you have any sequels to these books? Turning around, Francis seemed to have thought of something good that would benefit him, and suddenly a friendly and flattering smile appeared on his face. Yes, how? Really? That's great, Fanzan, we can take over the book business. Let me analyze it for you. A volume of Dream of the Red Chamber sells for 8 taels of silver. Look at the quality of the book, it's too shoddy. The printing and plate making cost less than 3 cents and 2 cents, not counting labor. We can make a net profit of 7 taels, 6 cents and 8 cents for each book sold. Considering how popular these books are on the street, if we deploy more people, we can sell at least hundreds of books a day. When it comes to money and business, the tiger look on Francis' face is gone. Instead, he is smiling and looks exceptionally alert and sensitive. His small eyes are bright and reveal a different kind of brilliance and wisdom. Oh, Seeing this, Luo Wen seemed to have finally confirmed one thing. Francis might not be good at other things, or even just average, but he had special talents in business and mathematics. All these years of studying literature and martial arts had completely wasted his talents and buried his shining points. Francis, you are talking nonsense again. Wait, Ruoro, let's give him a chance to perform. Sis, go on. Luo Wen's affirmation undoubtedly gave Francis great courage. He also felt that those unhappy emotions in his heart towards Fan Zan suddenly disappeared. Confidant, this is my Francis confidant. Why did I always confront him before? Let's continue what I said just now. If we calculate, based on 100 books a day, that's 768 teals. If we control the time well, and publish one volume every 15 days, that's 11,520 teals. When we deduct the labor and surface cost, we'll calculate it at 3/10, and we can get a net profit of 8,064 teals. He spoke without stopping, without any preparation, or writing down calculation formulas and data. Francis' speaking speed was even faster than Teng Zijing's counting speed with his fingers. Fan Ruoro, who looked surprised, also got the same result in her head. That's not all. We published 12 volumes of a book, that's 96,768 teals. We can make a fortune with just this one volume of Red Mansions. If we count the other 2 books, Journey to the West and Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio, which are exactly the same, we can make at least 290,304 teals in half a year. Just thinking about it, I think it's incredible. Is there such a big profit? Teng Zijing was stunned. Fan Ruoro also looked at Fan Zan with excitement, and then took a look at this different Francis. Why didn't she think of these? Violence. Fan Zan, let's do it together. Call me Fan Zan. Yes, sister is teaching you. Brother, dear brother, we are a family. When the shop is open, we brothers will split it 40% and 60%. You 60% and I 40%. Don't say call you brother. I will call you dear brother, dear uncle. Francis almost couldn't hold his tongue, and his eyes almost rolled up. Fortunately he changed the subject. Haha, don't worry, the road must be taken step by step, and the meal must be eaten bite by bite. In this matter, Luo Wen hadn't finished speaking. Get out of the way, everyone. No more selling, no more selling, give it to me. Books. Those other books I bought with my own money. Suddenly there was a commotion, and shouting on the street. A group of strong and sturdy evil slaves drove the woman selling books aggressively, and those who wanted to buy books snatched them away, and were kicked to the ground. The people around, looking at their large numbers and the weapons in their scabbards, had to get up and stand aside without saying a word. Chapter 409 Dandy Boy. Dang a sedan stopped at the street, and those passers-by who came and went all avoided this place of trouble in panic, and gathered far away. Master, everyone has been driven away. These are confiscated banned books. The evil slave holding a saber stood respectfully in front of the sedan, holding the red mansion in his hand, with a loyal look of flattering and offering treasures. They were obviously warriors of the first and second ranks, but they were willing to be the lackeys of others. Obviously, the person sitting in the sedan must be a powerful person. Creak. A young man in brocade clothes walked out of the sedan with a sinister look in his eyes. He was more than 7 feet tall, and had a cold face. But his steps were weak and there was a lot of alcohol between his eyebrows. It seems that apart from his noble birth, there is nothing special about him. He doesn't even have a trace of true energy. Maybe he is just a dandy boy. Beast. Master, he is Guo Baokan. That's right. Standing at the street-facing window on the 2nd floor, Teng Zijing looked at the culprit who had changed his appearance. He couldn't suppress his indignation. But his identity couldn't be exposed now, and there were many evil slaves under him. What could he, a 4th rank warrior, do? Only Francis and Miss Fan. But the prince clearly told me that the illegitimate son Fan Zan was also there. Could it be that he was hiding in the private room and didn't want to show up easily? Guo Baokan didn't come here just to show off his power. Testing the depth of the heir to the inner treasury financial power was his first priority as a disciple of the prince. Showing off in the street was just a random excuse. Moreover, it was said that these strange books circulating in the market were all written by Fan Zan. It must be confirmed clearly. If he really has some talent, the prince's faction should also be prepared early. But, is someone using me as bait to stir up the situation and the entire Kyoto? But Luo Wen remembered that he had clearly given a show of strength to the gatekeeper of that big shot. Didn't that person say that Fan Zan might be amazingly powerful, or did the person behind the scenes choose to wait and see, thinking of trying it out a few more times? Then, if the eunuch took it back, would that person also be dismissive? Gurgle. Luo Wen sat quietly at the table, not curious about the noise on the street, and Luo Wen also had his own considerations for Teng Zijing, the friend he took as his subordinate. Brother, he is the son of Minister of Rights Guo Yaozi. He instigated his subordinates to drive away the booksellers. In Fan Ruoro's eyes, the only person she had admired since she was a child was her brother Fan Zan, and even her father's position had to be ranked behind him. Now watching Guo Baokan showing off his power and instructing his subordinates to confiscate the novels that she regarded as treasures and oppressing innocent people, Fan Ruoro couldn't help but feel indignant. Hey, why is this kid running out to the streets to collect books? Is there any law? Although Francis is a little uneducated, he only likes to play tricks and throw tantrums at home. He would never run out to the streets to drive an eagle and lead a dog. Hey, everyone, I'm Guo Baokan. My father is the Minister of Rights. I'm not talented, but I'm also a compiler for the palace. Guo has been learning literature since he was young and attaches great importance to etiquette. You are all scholars, and you should read the articles of sages. These filthy and miscellaneous books are a disgrace to civility. Although Guo Baokan did not see Fan Zan in person, he saw the two siblings of the Fan family appearing on the windowsill, and thought that the real owner would not be absent inside. As for what he did, he felt that it was reasonable and well-founded, and he was not arrogant or unreasonable. Bang! He threw several books in his hand to the ground, stepped on them with his feet, and crushed them several times. In my opinion, these books should be banned from today. With a wicked smile, Guo Baokan was confident that, if Fan Zan was really a writer, he would not be insulted by such a provocative behavior. But when he turned his head to look at the windowsill of Yishiju, there were still only Fan Ruoro and the eldest son of the Fan family. Is the key cultivation skill so good? Nonsense, Guo Baokan, you are talking nonsense. With a shout, Francis was the first to attack, which was obviously beyond the expectations of everyone present. Only Luo Wen waved his hand, asking Teng Zijing not to show his head, to be careful not to be discovered by his enemy. Which kid is speaking rudely? I'm your grandfather. Dong dong, dong dong. It seems that cursing across the windowsill is not enough to relieve the anger. Francis rolled up his sleeves and started to run downstairs. Hey, sis, brother, why didn't you stop him? Haha. The children of the rich and powerful cursed each other in the street, and Guo Baokan made a fool of himself in public. The people around were also laughing happily. Anyway, there were many people present, and that person could not care about them. Ruoro, since Guo Baokan is the son of the Minister of Rights, why does he behave so unruly? Isn't he afraid that his father, who holds an important position, will be implicated because of his immoral words and deeds? Gurgle. Luo Wen picked up the wine pot on the low table and gently filled the wine glasses of Fan Ruoro and Teng Zijing. He was also a little curious about the origin of Guo Baokan, and more importantly, it was to remind him. Oh, brother, sis has already rushed down. The other side has more people and more power. He won't suffer any loss, right? Moreover, Guo Baokan was a former companion in the Eastern Palace, and can be considered a disciple under the command of the prince. It is not easy for our Fan family to confront him head-on. Yes, young master, Guo Baokan is not a good person. Your brother will definitely suffer any loss if he rushes forward so recklessly. Oh, really? Mr. Guo, what do you know? So many people like to read these books, which shows that these books are good books. You still want to ban books? What's your official position? You are a compiler in the palace. It's just a small matter. If I give you an office, would you dare to enter it? Francis, who was panting, had achieved nothing in literature and martial arts, but in some aspects, he had extraordinary talents, such as business and numeracy as a Luo Wen saw, and of course, the ability to scold with outsiders, and not give in to others, even if he is right. Oh, I was wondering which family this scumbag is from. It turns out to be you, a stupid pig. Guo Baoken's father is the Minister of Rights, a first-rank official, while Francis' father Fan Jian is only the Vice Minister of Revenue, a second-rank official. Moreover, Guo Baoken prides himself on being on the side of the prince, while Fan Jian has always remained neutral in the court, not fond of delving into research and rarely lends a hand. As for his son Francis, naturally, no one would take him seriously. Bullshit, you are the pig. Your father is the Minister of Rights, pig. How dare you scold my father? Haha, make way, thank you very much, thank you very much. Guo Baoken and Francis had just faced each other, and a handsome scholar with a handsome face squeezed into the middle of the crowd, straightened his clothes, and showed a dignified and modest smile. Mr. Guo, calm down, eh? The two were arguing, and suddenly someone interrupted them. He turned his head and looked over. He was dressed very neatly, and had a handsome appearance. But who was this person? Oh, I'm He Zhongli. I have heard that Mr. Guo is a talented writer with a profound family background. I didn't believe it at first, but today I saw that Mr. Guo is a scholar in the world, and he can distinguish right from wrong. I really admire him. TSK, isn't this a lackey who came out to take the opportunity to curry favor with the powerful? Francis gave him a chance to say a few words. Oh, it turns out to be Mr. He. No, Mr. He's talent and reputation, Guo has heard of it for a long time. Today, I see that he is indeed elegant, and can distinguish right from wrong. Nice to meet you, haha. Seeing that it was his admirer, Guo Baoken smiled, and temporarily put aside Francis' rude words. Regardless of whether the environment here was suitable, he immediately put on the posture of seeking talents, and bowed his hands to praise each other. Hey, this He Zhongli is also a well-known talent in Kyoto City. How could he be such a sycophant? He is really unworthy of his reputation, and has only a superficial appearance. Humph. Just now, when she saw this elegant scholar standing out from the crowd, Fan Ruoro said that she had a good impression of him. In the blink of an eye, she felt nauseous in her stomach. She could only blame herself for not judging people. No, Mr. Guo, you are too kind. Hey, what are you doing? You are birds of a feather. You are praising each other. It's all nonsense. Francis was left aside by the two of them. His face turned red and his neck was thick. He was almost angry. Hey, how disgraceful. Haha, this guy is the son of Sinanbo. Sinanbo is in the Ministry of Revenue, and is in charge of money matters. Naturally, his children are shallow. Hearing that this person is the son of Sinanbo, He Zhongli was suddenly shocked. He secretly regretted that he should not have been so rash to provoke him. What, you dare to scold my father? Guo Baoken, I will fight you. When Francis heard this, he was immediately furious. He raised his fist and hit Guo Baoken in the face. He Zhongli, on the other hand, stepped aside quietly with a guilty conscience. Snap, a pair of big hands tightly grasped Francis' fist. He was a tender-skinned young man, and the one who tried to stop him was a third-rank warrior. Hiss, it hurts, Guo Baoken, tell your men to let go, if you have the guts, let's fight. Brother, think of a way quickly, Sis is powerless, he will suffer. Master, let me go down, Guo Baoken can't recognize me. Since I'm the bait, I have to show my face on the stage to cooperate, so let's start from here. Swish, stood up. Luo Wen walked to the windowsill, took a step out, and landed gracefully. What bait? Start from here. What to start? Teng doesn't know either. Hiss, is it that master wants to? Teng Zijing and Fan Ruoro upstairs were both shocked, and they quickly looked over. Chapter 410 Appearance. Let go, Guo Baoken, let's fight one-on-one if you dare. Oh, since our fathers are officials in the same dynasty, how about this? You just kneel down and beg for mercy, and the matter will be over. In fact, Guo, am also a very generous person. Haha. Guo Baoken glanced over, and the warrior who tried to stop Francis began to exert force gradually. Hissa. What? Are you still stubborn? Fuck you. The young master will never admit his mistakes to a fool. Let go. Let go quickly. Francis' neck veins bulged. Cold sweat kept coming out of his forehead. His usually white and plump complexion was extremely pale at this time. It was obvious that the pair of iron claws on his wrists could not hold on to him. He felt like it was about to break. Wow, which young man is so handsome? Isn't he so good looking? Oh, I don't know if he has a crush on someone. Guo Baoken and his slaves were facing the street, and their attention was not focused on the back for a while. The crowd watching the excitement saw a young man in blue jump down from the windowsill like a startled swan, with a tall and handsome figure. They were all stunned. Humph, in this case, don't blame me, hit this idiot harder. Such a person who doesn't know how to advance and retreat, wasting my words in vain. Hey, with a punch, the true energy sank into Francis' body. As long as it touched any object, it would explode instantly. It seems that, even if it was Guo Baoken's order, his men were not useless reckless men, and they knew to use some little tricks. Guo Baoken's eyes were fierce, and he directly ordered his men to act. As for the crowd in the distance, their eyes seemed to pass him, and look behind him. Guo Baoken also seemed to notice something unusual, and began to turn around. Teng teng teng. That's not right. Why don't I feel any pain? Francis' feet involuntarily retreated behind him. His body was not under his control at all, but he was full of doubts. Guo Baoken had clearly given the order, and the warrior who held him seemed to have used a big move. His face flushed. Why didn't he feel any pain at all? Just a feeling of heat and swelling in his internal organs. Pare's slender palm gently pushed out, and Francis' body stopped in an instant. At the same time, with a trace of a Luo Wen spiritual power sweeping through, the explosive true ki in his body also melted into snow and dissipated into nothingness. This, master, be careful. He can dissolve my explosive fist without leaking any true ki. This is a master. Gurgle, swallowing a mouthful of saliva, the strong warrior, regardless of the panic and fear on his face, stood in front of Guo Baoken faithfully, just like those evil slaves who were also facing a great enemy. Sometimes, Luo Wen was also very puzzled. Obviously, the villains were all masters of controlling their subordinates, either in high positions, or with extraordinary wisdom and means, or with extraordinary talents and martial arts, but they were always counterattacked by the mediocre rookie protagonists. How strange is that? At least in Luo Wen's view, there was no replacement of his own. Fan Zion was just a poor illegitimate child with a stupid guard, and had to learn the nameless true ki by himself. On the first day in Kyoto, he was targeted by the Supreme, who set up a temple test, and there was also a confidant deliberately arranged by that person. It was only the second day, and since he left the house, there have been undercurrents in private, and various forces have appeared one after another. Fan Zion wouldn't just rely on his protagonist halo. His appearance and temperament were not like those of an ordinary person, as if he were a banished immortal, and his stature was very tall. Just the deep, confident, and calm look in his eyes made Guo Baoken's mind go blank. Could he be Fan Zion? Oh, so he is Sinanbo's illegitimate son who lives far away in Danzhou. TSK, he has a good appearance. 3 parts jealousy, 3 parts sarcasm, 3 parts madness, and a trace of nameless anger. After seeing Fan Zion, Guo Baoken was not very clear why he became so emotional. However, when he thought of the big backer standing behind him, he wanted to tear this handsome man who made the girls drool into pieces. How hateful. Why did a illegitimate son like him dare to steal all his limelight? Oh, so Miss Ruoruo is here too. Although Miss Ruoruo is full of literary talent and beautiful, it's a pity that she has such a useless brother. It's really a pity. Fan Zion didn't speak up, but Guo Baoken was not stupid. He pretended to be enlightened and greeted Fan Ruoruo by the window. He pointed at Francis and used words to further stimulate the young man. He wanted to see how long this handsome man with a deep mind could hold his temper. Guo Baoken would definitely take the first credit for the task assigned by the prince. Wow, it wasn't just Gyuo Baokan who noticed Fan Ruoro by the windowsill. The surrounding Muai boys and Izangli, who were trying to climb the power and wealth, were also brightened and felt yearning and admiration. Gyuo Baokan, the son of the Minister of Rights. He spoke. He finally spoke. Following Fan Zan's relieved voice, Gyuo Baokan, who had been on high alert secretly, finally breathed a sigh of relief. For the unknown, I'm afraid everyone would be afraid. That's right, my father is the Minister of Rights. Haha, I just want to ask you, if you are afraid, so what if he has an extraordinary temperament and is handsome? You are not the illegitimate son of the Minister of Revenue. With such a huge gap in status, Fan Zan, you should save yourself the trouble. The Minister of Rights is the chief official in charge of etiquette, sacrifices, banquets, schools in various states, and imperial examinations. As the son of the Minister of Rights, you should abide by the etiquette and obey the laws of the country. This. Beating people in the street, robbing other people's property, and allowing your subordinates to attack Fancies, who is also a relative of an imperial official. Such arrogant and domineering behavior. I wonder if your father knows about it? That's not the case. That's not the case. It was clearly a dispute of young people's pride. Why did Fan Zan make a big deal out of it and directly change the subject? Bullshit. Which eye of yours saw me instigating my men to beat people up? Fancies, isn't Fancies standing there just fine? Yes, don't panic, don't panic. He's just an illegitimate child. How could he scare me with just a few words? Gyuo Baokan's eyes moved, and he quickly thought of a solution. Yes, he can testify that Mr. Gyuo was just clearing out banned books and didn't hurt anyone. Oh, really? Then this person took advantage of his power to bully others and started a fight in the street. According to what Mr. Gyuo said himself, he was just joking. Is there something wrong with Fan Zan? Under a good appearance, he is mentally ill. Why is he making excuses for me? Yes, Master Fan and I were just joking. Look, he is fine, isn't he? Haha. Oh, then I like to joke around too. Cloud Palm. Puff. The continuous force, like the waves, continued to accumulate layer by layer. The tall warrior who was originally on guard suddenly vomited blood and flew several meters away. Crack, crack, crack. The ribs that were invisible to the naked eye were already full of fine cracks. When the time came, this person would become a rubber man. Luo Wen did not use magic, nor did he use spiritual power, nor did he bless his magical powers or telekinesis. It was just a subtle use of the body's subtle power. Not to mention one layer, it was less than 1/10,000th. Fan Zan, you. Gyuo Baokan was a little scared by the ghostly and swift movements. Oh, sorry, I'm kidding. Here's 100 taels of silver. It should be enough for him to go back and treat his wounds. Swish, he just spat out a mouthful of blood, which was very scary. The warrior didn't notice anything unusual and stood up from the ground with ease. In front of him, at this time, a thin silver note shot out. According to legend, the master can control objects with his key, and flying flowers and leaves can hurt people. Could it be him? The banknote just stuck to the man's chest, then slowly fell down, and was caught by him. Then he looked at his master with a puzzled look. Humph, Fan Zan, you are brave. Hey, wait. Under the pressure of Fan Zan's martial arts and momentum, Gyuo Baokan wanted to retreat. He almost forgot what the crown prince told him before leaving. You are just relying on your courage. So what if you have beaten my men? You are still vulgar and inferior. I'm a compiler in the palace. As a scholar, I don't want to associate with a warrior like you. Oh, provoking him. So it seems that Gyuo Baokan has a backup plan. That's true. Mr. Gyuo is a pillar of the country. A warrior like Fan is really hard to compare with you. Oh, that's not right. Why doesn't Fan Zan take the challenge? Whatever I say, he responds. Gyuo Baokan suddenly felt difficult, or at a loss. Haha, what a great phrase. A talent who can make a great country. I agree with it. Master Fan, why do you have to hide your incompetence and let these people look down on you? We are all young, and we need to be ambitious, and make a name for ourselves. Master Fan, why don't you show off your talents, so that others know that you are not just a show off? A young man in white sparkle brocade, with a golden crown on his head, jade shoes on his feet, and jewels tied around his waist, and sachets and jade pendants are not ordinary things. He has a noble look on his face, and is slowly walking through the crowd to the middle of the crowd. Hiss, Your Highness, we didn't know that Your Highness was coming. We apologize for not welcoming you from afar. Oh, Your Highness, brother, this is Your Highness, come and greet him. Guo Baokan didn't care about his own face. His ennui was more respectful and happy. Even Francis seemed to have come to his senses. He bowed and bent his waist while walking by Luo Wen and reminded him. Haha, interesting. First it was Guo Baokan, and then some prince. It seems that there are more than 1 or 2 people eyeing me. Chapter 411 Appearance 2. Brother, you have always been a low-key person. Why did you suddenly accept the invitation to the poetry gathering of Prince Jing today and go to debate with Guo Baokan and his ennui about literary talent? Wow. Tap, tap. In the slightly shaking carriage, Fanruru and Francis both had puzzled expressions on their faces. Fanruru was curious, why did her brother Fanzian change his past habits and become so close to people? And Francis was impressed by Fanzian's martial arts and his unyielding demeanor in front of His Royal Highness the Prince. By the way, if he hadn't rescued me today, I'm afraid the consequences would be unpredictable. Why did Guo Baokan know that I was Fanzian and could reveal my name and identity in the first sentence he said? And Li Hangcheng, as you said, is a royal family, the son of Prince Jing. So why did he appear on the street and invite me to his prince's mansion to participate in a poetry meeting and make friends through literature, just when we had a conflict with Guo Baokan? When coincidences occur occasionally, we can call them coincidences, but when they happen one after another, especially when my identity is sensitive and involves the financial power of the royal treasury, any coincidence is no longer a coincidence. So, brother, what you mean is, someone has been watching us since we left the house today. No way, Fanzian. No, brother, to put it bluntly, your identity is just an illegitimate child from Danzhou. It is possible that you will take over the inner treasury in the future. It is not so absolute, but it will not be so exaggerated. It's only the 2nd day since you came here, and all your every move is being monitored all day long. Ever since Francis left Lishiju and got on the carriage, the way he looked at Luo Wen was not normal. Sometimes hesitant, sometimes full of curiosity, and then turned into the current faint respect. The power of the inner treasury is related to the extra benefits of the royal family. In other words, the reason why King Kingdom has become so powerful today and the surrounding forces dare not act rashly is because this inner treasury is constantly providing huge amounts of wealth and resources. Luo Wen's words made Fanruoro and Francis start to think seriously. And once I marry Linwana, the royal family will have to return the jurisdiction of the inner treasury according to the agreement. King Kingdom has become bigger. For the emperor who is high above, as long as the inner treasury is still in King Kingdom, he doesn't really care who manages the inner treasury. However, for those princes who yearn for the supreme position, my life and death become particularly far-reaching. I'll go down. When we pass by the side street, you two can go back home by yourselves. Brother, do you want us to help you hide your whereabouts? No, why don't you tell us where you are going? If mother asks, I will have an explanation, right? Don't ask, don't tell, just remember what I said. Luo Wen was quite surprised. Francis, the little fat boy, was not as useless as Fan Giant said. Today, facing the strong enemy, he still had a strong will and was unwilling to surrender. He also had an almost instinctive love for doing business. All of this was because of Fan Jian, or in other words, the position of Minister of the Ministry of Revenue that Fan Zian cheapened his father. Francis wanted to get the attention of his parents, and he admired his father deep in his heart. He would not tolerate anyone slandering or belittling Fan Jian. TSK, if you don't want to ask, then don't ask. But my sister is sitting here. She hates lies the most, right, sister? Haha, brother, go ahead. Don't worry, I'll watch him and stop him from saying anything. Fan Ruoro obeyed Fan Zian's words to the point of having no limits. Francis, he envied her. Oh, master, there is no one here. You can get off. Swish. Ruoro. I will explain it to you in detail after we go back. Sis, I will seriously consider the matter of opening a bookstore. You go back and list the general rules first. Oh. Okay, brother. Yeah, brother. Dear brother. Go quickly. I'll wait for you at home. Be careful on the road. Don't worry. I will definitely not tell anyone and help you cover up. Haha. Luo Wen got off the carriage and saw that, although the side street was remote, it was still wide and shaded by green trees. But for some reason, the shops on both sides were locked and the small vendors were nowhere to be seen. It was only a few dozen meters away from the main street. Why was there so no one interested? The Inspection Institute, as Fan Jian said in person, was founded by Fan Xian's biological mother Yi Qingmei, and this is one of the necessary roads. It seems that intelligence and supervision agencies in the past have never been liked by ordinary people. Master, be careful on your journey. I'll be waiting for good news in the mansion. Teng Zijing trusted Fan Xian's strength to the extreme. Even though he was a 4th rank warrior and didn't have such extraordinary strength, he estimated that this friend was at least a 9th rank warrior or even a legendary master. It was just that his face was full of worry and taking care of himself, but it was for the light of hope in his heart. He was afraid that Fan Xian would go to the Inspection Institute and not find the Dingxi 534th file. He was afraid that Fan Xian would find the file, but the answer recorded on it would not be what he wanted to see. Everyone has their own destiny. You'd better be more open-minded about some things, but don't worry, I will keep my promise to you. Creak, creak. Luo Wen didn't say anything else, his hands hanging on both sides, like a passing tourist, pacing and looking left and right as he walked towards Xi'an Street at the end of the road. Ah. Tada. Teng Zijing knew that he had been in a state of confusion since returning to Beijing, and he almost exposed his whereabouts several times. Now he had brought too much trouble to his good friend Fan Xian, so he had to restrain his emotions and concentrate on driving the Fan brothers and sisters back home. At the same time, an elegant indigo carriage was leaving the Fan mansion and heading towards the restaurant to look for the trace of Fan Xian. At this moment, it happened to merge with the Fan mansion carriage that left the side street and walked to a narrow intersection less than 2 meters wide. Whoa. God Teng, what's the matter? It seems we haven't reached home yet. Why did we stop? Miss, there is a carriage coming from the opposite direction in front of us, and we can't pass. The carts of ordinary families in King Kingdom are only about 5 feet wide, but the carriages of wealthy families are spacious to ensure comfort and quietness, and the wheels use special sealed axle components, which results in the widest part of the entire vehicle being almost 7 feet and close to 8 feet. Naturally, it is impossible for 2 carriages traveling in opposite directions to pass each other without contact here. Fan Ruoro, who had opened the curtain, had just heard brother Fan Xian's explanation to her. She was nervous and alert at this moment. However, when she saw that there was only a woman in red on the opposite side and that the 2 carriages were too wide to pass, she was relieved that it was not intentional. Guardian Teng, let's step back and let the other party leave first. Yes, miss. Hey, wait. Miss Fan, I'm looking for you. Oh no, what you fear will come true. Fan Ruoro opened the curtain and was seen by the woman in red on the opposite side. When she heard that the other party recognized her, she realized that the person sitting in the carriage on the opposite side was not a stranger. It's over. Are we in trouble? TSK, who is it that scares you like this? Sister, there is also a young woman in Kyoto City that you are afraid of. Judging from her voice, she should not be that kind of vicious person. Let me see if she looks good. When Francis heard the voice, he became interested. He was at an age when his mind was budding, so how could he not be yearning for young people of the opposite sex? It's Miss Yi, the one from the Yi family who loves to make trouble all day long. Yi Linger is an extraordinary person. As a member of Master Clan, she has unique advantages. At a young age, she has already entered the 7th level. Although her experience in fighting the enemy is not as good as those military generals and long-established veterans in the martial arts world, but compared with the children of the powerful in Kyoto, especially those of similar age, she is already a rare master. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412, Missed by Chance. Oh, Missy, is it the Missy who sends you 2 boxes of gold, silver and jewelry every Chinese New Year? When hearing Missy, the first person that comes to Francis' mind is naturally the beautiful woman who makes a good impression on him and seems to have a wealthy family. He is the legitimate son of the minister of the Ministry of Revenue, and the other party is the only daughter of a wealthy family. If they can get in touch with each other a few more times, maybe it can be regarded as a destined marriage. Haha. What are you thinking about? It's the one from the family of Lord Yizang, the garrison commander of Kyoto, Miss Yilinger. No. All the fantasies in his mind are gone at this moment. Although Yilinger has always been famous for her beauty, Francis still likes the kind of beautiful girl from a small family, preferably one who is rich and gentle. He should stay away from this female knight, who can kill a tiger with one punch. Sister, what are you waiting for? Send her away quickly. Francis admitted that he was scared. But in the whole Kyoto, which young master would not be scared when hearing the 3 words Yilinger? Even Jiuo Baokan, who showed up today, even the Prince of Jing, would have to clamp his thighs together and be an obedient honest man when seeing this female knight who loves to wield swords. TSK, I'm not afraid of Yilinger. Although she is very powerful, she is still reasonable. I have dealt with her several times, and she is not as scary as the outside world says. I'm just afraid. I'm afraid that there are other people sitting in her carriage. Sister, what do you mean? Why is there someone else in Yilinger's carriage? Yilinger has always been used to being alone with her horse. Why did she suddenly change her mind and take a carriage? Oh no, that carriage is most likely the princess of the Lin family. Maybe Linwana is also in that carriage. What? Future sister-in-law. Hush, don't shout. Brother just told us to hide his whereabouts for him. Now if the princess and Yilinger find out that he is not there, wouldn't it easily arouse more suspicion? Then what should we do now? Her intention just now was obviously directed at us. On one side is Fan Ruoro, a gentle and graceful woman with graceful lotus steps, and on the other side is Yilinger, a woman in red with steady steps and quite heroic spirit. One wants to come down to deal with her brother to protect her brother, and the other one comes forward because Linwana is weak and cannot be seen by the wind. Oh, Missy, I haven't seen you for a long time. How are you these days? Nodding and clasping her hands in a salute, Fan Ruoro was a ladylike demeanor. Miss Fan, I'm not calling you today to chat with you. I heard that your son from Danzhou has returned to Beijing recently. I wonder if he's in the car? Although Yilinger and Fan Ruoro had no grudges and they were familiar with each other, Yilinger seemed a little distant and indifferent to Fan Ruoro's politeness. It might be the same effect of loving someone's house and loving his dog. In her heart, Fan Zhan has become a bad synonym. Even Fan Ruoro, the talented woman of the Fan family, she deliberately treated him with a bit of estrangement. They were both in their 20s and their heights and body shapes were similar. However, Fan Ruoro, who liked literature and art, had a more gentle and bookish air. Yilinger, who was obsessed with martial arts, had a heroic air, and her temperament had a touch of straightforwardness and true nature that was rare in ordinary women. If we really talk about their looks, they both have almond eyes, willow eyebrows, delicate noses and small mouths. Their facial features are pretty and equally beautiful. Oh, I wonder why Missy wants to see my brother? It's over. I didn't expect that they also came for my brother Fan Zhan. This is troublesome. Although she was a little flustered, Fan Ruoro was a calm person. In other words, the more complicated her mood was, the less happy she would be. She looked calm and composed. HMPH, Princess Lin, please come to see Master Fan. But Yilinger didn't care about Fan Ruoro who was standing beside her. She raised her hands to make a flat salute and shouted loudly to the person sitting in the car. It's over. It's over. It's just as my sister said. There's the carriage of the princess of the Lin family outside. This is a big trouble. Compared to Fan Ruoro's calmness, Francis, who was thinking rapidly and thinking about excuses, was already in a panic, scratching his head and not knowing what to do. Nonsense, Miss Yi. You don't know what the status of the princess of the Lin family is. How can you meet with my brother in private? Who is nonsense? This is. Cough, cough. Things are not going well, and she has been frustrated again and again. Lin Wana, who was already restless, and she was out in the wind, and she couldn't help but cough again. Wow. The curtain of the carriage was gently lifted, revealing a corner. Lin Wana, dressed in plain brocade clothes, appeared in the eyes of several people with a stunning appearance, but even with the wind, her face was still cold and pale, and the fragility in her eyes made people feel distressed. Miss Ruoro, I have something to say to Master Fan. Just a few words. It won't take too long. This, Wana, quickly put down the curtains. Don't let the wind blow. Yiling naturally valued Lin Wana very much, otherwise there wouldn't be such a coincidence today. Ruoro pays homage to the princess, but it's really unfortunate today. My brother has caught a cold and hasn't recovered yet. Why don't you go home early today and talk another day? Fan Ruoro naturally wouldn't talk to Yiling nicely, but facing Lin Wana's personal request, Fan Ruoro felt helpless, but seeing the paleness on her face and the occasional coughing, she suddenly had an idea. I hope Master Fan will forgive me. Master Fan is not feeling well. I shouldn't have disturbed you like this, but there are some things that I must tell you face to face. Just a few words. Please get out of the car and talk. This. Lin Wana felt uncomfortable when she saw the wind. At this time, she concentrated her energy and made a loud request to the other side. The paleness on her face became more and more obvious. Oh, Wana, why are you doing this? Master Fan. Yiling, who was distressed, was furious at this time. Even if Fan Zion caught a cold, he was still a man after all. How could he be worse than Wana? He huddled in the car like a turtle and only dared to let his sister speak for him outside. Such a cowardly behavior was really despicable. What should I do? My sister won't let me speak, but if I don't, Yiling will rush up with a sword, and everything will be exposed. If I upset my brother and ruin his plan, I will be more trouble than help. What about the bookstore? Oh, I got it. Ahem, is it the princess? Francis pinched his throat, and couldn't care less now. He just wanted to fool Yiling and the princess of the Lin family. No matter what, he had to help Fan Zion complete the task of covering the traces. Well, sorry for bothering you. What's the matter? Let's talk about it next time. Ahem. Just a few words. It won't take too long. It's not convenient now. Inconvenient? I just had a drink and met a young lady singing. Now, she is still in my car. I see the princess is there. Why don't we go to her house later to talk in detail? What? Not to mention that Yiling couldn't help but hold the hilt of the sword with one hand. Lin Wana, who had never thought of marrying Fan Zion, was also very disappointed and extremely disappointed with this illegitimate son of the Fan family. Fan Ruoro slightly opened mouth and the anger in her eyes. If it wasn't for the inappropriateness of this critical moment, she would have wanted to rush up and tear Fan's stinky mouth apart. Fan Zion, you dare to do such a despicable thing. Let me see how I deal with you today. Choke. A sword energy with a cold light rushed into the sky. Yiling. Cough, cough, cough. Miss, why are you coughing up blood again? Swish. It came quickly and went quickly. Teng Zijing, who was facing a great enemy, had already grasped the short blade on his waist with both hands. Even though he knew that he might not be the opponent of this girl, he was also prepared to fight with his life and protect Fan Zion's brother anyway. When Yiling took 3 steps, Lin Wana's personal maid Wan Qiu cried out in surprise. Yiling was also confused. She put away her sword and jumped back into the car. Wana, are you okay? It's okay. Sorry for being rude. Linga, let's go back. After apologizing for the last time, Lin Wana lowered the curtain with a miserable expression. Yiling also glared at Fan Zion, who had never shown his face, as if she could kill the man inside with her eyes. Behind the concealment of the wall, two extremely handsome young men were walking with swords on their backs, looking like ghosts. They were none other than the disciples that Luo Wen had personally taken in and trained when he was in Danzhou. How strong were they? Just now, Linger was only a few meters away from the carriage, and the sword light was gleaming like a letter, but they did not move at all, indicating that they had enough time to react. You can tell how confident they were. In other words, they regarded the teachers ought not to show up, unless it was absolutely necessary as more important than their own lives. Chapter 413 Inspection Institute. Cheyenne Street is not as important as the four main streets in the east, south, west, and north of Kyoto City, but its reputation is much greater than those four streets. In other words, the whole world, even in Dangai City and Biki State, they all know that there is a huge thing in King State, called the Inspection Institute. And the Inspection Institute is on Cheyenne Street, occupying a considerable area. Just turning a corner, it forms a sharp contrast with the bustling and popular half of the main street. Although there are still business travelers here, the number has dropped sharply. Everyone who passes by this gloomy and solemn high-walled building complex keeps silent and walks lightly. These are subconscious instinctive reactions. The entire Inspection Institute occupies a quarter of the size of Cheyenne Street, with an area of no less than hundreds of thousands of square meters. The key is that there is a huge space under the entire Inspection Institute, with secret rooms, prisons, and basements scattered throughout it. Russell, Luo Wen came empty-handed and approached the gate. The few pedestrians in the distance also disappeared on the street. The three-story Kahneman building, with flying eaves and beasts, is nearly 20 to 30 feet high and has its own majesty. There are 3 marble steps extending up, showing the transcendent status of this place. There are no guards, and there are secret sentries everywhere. Luo Wen's mouth corner slightly raised, and he did not intend to point out that these people's prying, to him, is like a figure under the sun. This is the so-called founding stone tablet, left by my biological mother Yi Qingmei, and my father Fanjian asked me to see this. Creak, creak, swish. Without wind, the dust on it began to fall down in unison, and then flew to the drainage culvert, and the small seal characters on it also became clear at a glance. I hope that the laws of King Kingdom will be established for the people, not tolerated because of nobility, not deprived because of poverty. I hope that one day everyone will be born equal, without distinction between noble and humble, guarding life, pursuing light. Born equal, everyone is like a dragon. Yi Qingmei. The beautiful handwriting seems to be copied. In it, Luo Wen can feel the strong vision and belief of a woman who has been influenced by modern civilization and has great ideals to change the world. It's a pity that she died, and the child she left behind is just a pawn used by others. Fortunately, Luo Wen has appeared now, in another identity, in this feudal world that originally didn't know where to go. Yi Qingmei, you believe in being born equal and everyone is like a dragon like me, then I will continue your legacy. Swish, the waving of the whip, snap, the sound of flesh being torn apart. Say it. If you don't say it, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Quack, quack. Luo Wen felt inexplicably sad, but his sense of identification with Yi Qingmei and irrelevant people like Fan Jian gradually became more accepting. As he walked slowly, within the high walls and the closed down doors, there was a pungent smell of blood and all kinds of miserable wails from time to time. In addition to the crows flying in the sky, adding a different kind of life to this place, I'm afraid that ordinary people will feel depressed, or even dark, and twisted if they stay here for a little longer, right? Tick tick, tick tick. The dark red blood dripping on the ground seemed like a piece of cake to the black-clad warrior carrying the human head package, and it did not affect the indifferent expression on his face. Even when he saw Fan Zian in casual clothes, he only frowned slightly, wondering why there was such a handsome man in the world. As for the appearance of this person, or the arrival of outsiders here, he was not nervous, or worried at all. Add more manpower to the Kangshao liaison office. Northern key spies have been coming more and more frequently during this period. By the way, the new tools made in the 3 offices must be distributed as soon as possible to facilitate our work. Hey, do you know that guy? He's so handsome. Could he be a new colleague in the institute? Shh, talk less. He looks like Fan Zian. Just after crossing the middle gate, Compared to the desolation and desertedness outside the main gate, this place seems to be a lot more lively. It seems that the main gate of the Inspection Institute is probably just for decoration. They should have other entrances and exits at other times. That's right, as an intelligence agency, how could they not have a few secret entrances and exits? I'm the director of the Inspection Institute. If anyone is free, can you please call Wan Kinyan, the clerk? Luo Wen did not communicate with them much. He took out the director's badge on his waist and showed it directly in front of them. The Inspection Institute has 8 departments, each with its own duties and responsibilities. There are those responsible for monitoring the officials of Kyoto, those who handle and collect intelligence, and those who are responsible for developing drugs, poisons and various unconventional weapons. There are 8 directors in the 8 departments, and the director of the Inspection Institute at the top. This is a permanent position. Regardless of whether the main position is in Kyoto or not, they will have their own agents or deputies to temporarily take over the duties. The director's badge in Luo Wen's hand was entrusted by Chen Pingping to Fei Ji. The position of director is not permanent, but independent of the 8 departments. It is equivalent to a self-contained system. Of course, the size of the director's power depends entirely on the director himself and the support of the dean. Otherwise, even if he is at the same level as the director, Luo Wen is just a showpiece with no soldiers and no power. His director's badge. The texture is correct. The pattern is correct. The mark is correct. We are here to meet the Lord Commissioner. No matter if they were in black clothes with black patterns, red patterns, or silver patterns, everyone in the courtyard bowed respectfully. No need to be polite, just go about your business. I'm looking for Wan Kinyan. While birds and beasts scattered, obviously, their actions just now were just because of the commissioner's waist badge in Luo Wen's hand, and they were not really sincere. Haha, Lord Fan, I didn't expect you to come here suddenly today. I hope you won't blame me for my poor hospitality. No problem. By the way, Lord Fan, Mr. Fei is not in Kyoto. Are you looking for Wan Kinyan? Oh, I need to retrieve a document. Isn't Wan Kinyan a clerk in the Inspection Institute? Please take me to find him. Oh, okay, please follow me, sir. Walking into the inner hall, the entire central meeting hall seems to have referenced the design of the 8 diagrams, corresponding to each other symmetrically. That's right. Otherwise why are there 8 places instead of 9? It seems that Luo Wen, the current commissioner, corresponds to the number of 9 palaces and 8 diagrams. Dong dong, dong dong. Yilinger, who was angry, walked quickly to Linwana, who was waiting, and they had already returned to Xixiang Garden from the street, but it was only when the maid Wan Qiu, who was wearing a pink and green gauze skirt, took advantage of the scorching midday sun and the sparse breeze, that she let her young lady make tea in the pavilion to calm her mood. Linger, have you found out? Wow. Sitting carelessly on the cushion, Yilinger picked up the cloud cake and stuffed it into her mouth viciously. Huh. I'm so angry. The whole street is spread all over. That Fan Zion makes trouble as soon as he goes out, and he had a dispute with Jiuo Baokan, the editor of the palace. He relied on his fists and feet to beat people. His mouth was bulging, and he was not satisfied while eating. He picked up the cool tea that Linwana had put down and drank it all in one gulp. Fan Zion Jiuo Baokan? Oh, that's not the case. I just injured the guards of the Jiuo family. But this also shows that he is a reckless man. And just now, his own sister was still sitting in the car. How could he? How can he be so shameless, lustful, impulsive, and vulgar? In Yilinger's mind, Fan Zion has almost been equated with scum. Miss, please don't be angry about these things. Well, I'm not angry. I'm just thinking that there are always men in this world who are worthy of trust. If he is not a good man, I would rather die than marry. Oh, by the way, Wana, Prince Jing invites Fan Zion to his house to attend a poetry meeting tomorrow. Although I don't understand why the prince invites such a mediocre person to pretend to be elegant. Isn't this a great opportunity for us to draw a line between ourselves and Fan Zion? Well, this news from Yilinger rekindled the last glimmer of earnest hope in Linwana's heart. She didn't want to verify whether Fan Zion was so unbearable, but just wanted to tell him in person that she didn't like him, in order to leave no regrets in her heart. Chapter 414 Secret Scroll. Lord Fan, you are the chief of the inspection bureau. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I have been called your brother so many times for nothing. TSK, I really don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. The entire secret file department was filled with piles of books and files. Wan Kinian, who was leisurely drinking tea and fanning himself with a palm leaf fan at the table in the middle, saw Luo Wen, as if he saw silver, and stepped forward to greet him happily. This is a rare, quiet and peaceful place in the inspection bureau. Brother Wang, Fan sincerely wants to make friends with you. Why should you refuse? The faint smile on Luo Wen's face made Wan Kinian feel scared. Through those clear and deep pupils, Wan Kinian felt as if he was seen through and had no secrets in front of him. Yes, Mr. Fan's sincerity, Wan has long understood it. I wonder how Mr. Fan wants me to serve? The young man who brought Luo Wen here has already said goodbye and left. After all, he is not a subordinate of the Ministry of Personnel and has his own responsibilities and tasks. In this huge secret file department, there is no third person except Wan Kinian and Luo Wen. It seems that the secret file department is only used for archiving and storage and does not involve intelligence analysis. There are other important functions. Is the case file number 534 of Dingxi here? This case file records Teng Zijing from the 4th Circuit. Didn't the Lord kill him and Danzhao? Luo Wen was a little interested. Wan Kinian was obviously a smart person. Whether it was extorting money from people or doing business, he performed well. As soon as he said Dingxi 534, he knew it was Teng Zijing's case file. This shows that Wan Kinian is indeed very smart and has a very good grasp of his professional skills. Such a large archive room is well managed, and he can also sneak out to do part-time jobs. Isn't this also a manifestation of his good ability? Of course, these are not the fundamental reasons that attracted Luo Wen's interest. It is because, regardless of his intention to make friends and his apparent identity as a supervisor, shouldn't Wan Kinian immediately take out the Dingxi 534 case file for me to read? Why did he go to such lengths and ask the reason in a tactful way? Why, it's inconvenient for you to take out the case file now. No, it's convenient. Of course it's convenient, but there are so many Dingxi files, it's not easy to find them. How about this? I find it first, and then tomorrow, I will personally deliver it to your house. How about that? Haha, Wan Kinian, with a flattering face, had no other strange colors in his eyes except respect, but since Luo Wen had a suspicion, it must be for a reason. Just as Wan Kinian said, since there are so many Dingxi files, how can he guarantee that he can find it tomorrow? Not to mention, the first time Luo Wen came in, his mind confirmed the location of the Dingxi 534 case file, the 7th row, the 3rd layer, the middle of the 4th grid. According to the classification and number, it was placed there. It seems that Wan Kinian has a ghost in his heart. Okay, then I'll trouble you, Brother Wang. By the way, I was assassinated in Danzhao. I think you must have heard about this, right? Of course, it was a forged secret order. The 4 bureaus investigated and dealt with many people because of this. Then, is there any result? In the Institute of Inspection, someone actually dared to forge your secret order, and no one really noticed, and sent a killer named Teng Zijing to assassinate. It is impossible that there is no follow-up to this matter, right? Sir, the person who forged the secret order has committed suicide. It was a spy from the 4 bureaus, but his name is not convenient to reveal. No, sir, this case involves the internal affairs of the 4 bureaus and is supervised by the dean himself. Others can't and dare not interfere. Please don't make things difficult for me. Luo Wen just asked casually. The person who forged the secret order and Teng Zijing were both pawns. How could he not know? There are only a few people who really want to kill him. Or, he himself is just one of the chess pieces used by others. Although no one has asked Luo Wen's opinion, and no one thinks that he can control a chess piece like Luo Wen, since he dares to have such an idea, she must pay the price for his behavior. However, since the Lord values Wang so much, I can't not give him any face. That person is Zhu Yuntang. Oh, Zhu Yuntang, I will remember your kindness. I will leave the matter of the document to you. I dare not. This is my job. Haha, Lord, I will send you out. The camera turned, and the inner courtyard of the palace was magnificent and luxurious. Even the target, that should have been placed outdoors, was specially set up in the palace. A middle-aged man with a deep momentum and a majestic appearance was pulling the bow and testing the string, fiddling with the bow and arrow in his hand. Your Majesty, news just came that Fan Zion secretly went to the Inspection Institute. He retrieved a file and also questioned the real culprit of the assassination in Danzhou. The file he retrieved was number 534. Dingsy. I have had someone copy it and send it here. It's the file of Teng Zijing, a man from the Inspection Institute, who was involved in the assassination in Danzhou and was killed by Fan Zion. This is a bit strange. The man is dead. Why is Fan Zion still investigating him? A eunuch in crimson palace clothes was holding a sandalwood lacquered tray in a soft voice. This person was the eunuch who took Luo Wen to the temple yesterday. It seems that Luo Wen's guess was not wrong. Heh, this guy's not dead. Swish, whoosh, bang. The man in the yellow robe, embroidered with gold thread, although his hairstyle was a little messy and his dress was a little casual, he picked up the bow in his hand tremblingly, and the feather arrow he shot was not strong enough to hit the target, and it bounced off the target and directly onto the ground. However, what was tied to the target was not a haystack, but a chainmail made of fine iron. I'm afraid that ordinary warriors would not be able to shoot through it with a bow. But the Inspection Institute reported clearly that the person died in Danzhou. That person followed Fan Zion back to the capital. Oh, Your Majesty already knows about this, so isn't Fan Zion deceiving the Emperor? Humph, how many people in this court don't deceive the Emperor? Does Your Majesty mean that you want to issue an order for a strict investigation? As long as it gets the job done, it's okay to tell a few lies. Oh, Your Majesty, aren't you too lenient? Fan Zion grew up in Danzhou. Now that he had just come of age, he was summoned to Kyoto by Fan Zion. Someone had brought up this topic before, and as the current Emperor King not only had to deal with endless official business every day, but also accumulated countless emotions and secrets in his heart. Apart from appearing to be indifferent and ruthless, who could share the helplessness and worries in his heart? Moreover, yesterday at the King Temple, Fan Zion not only exposed the identity of Eunuch Hao, but also subdued Gong Dian, who was at the 8th level of cultivation, with one move. Did his mother leave him a secret skill that he himself did not know? Gong Dian said that he suspected Fan Zion was a young master. What a joke. It is harder to become a master than to ascend to heaven. How could there be such a young master? However, Fan Zion is now at least at the 8th level of strength. This point cannot be considered, right? Eunuch Hao, will Fan Zion attend the poetry meeting tomorrow? Well, I have inquired about this. Fan Zion did agree to the crown prince on the street. Second brother, did he go too? Well, the second prince did go to Yishiju. Well, what about the East Palace? He instigated his subordinates to spread the news that Fan Zion injured the Guo family guards. He has made some progress. Chapter 415. Infamous. Luo Wen's name has both good and bad reputations. The only people who praised him were the common people who saw his handsome appearance and spread his extraordinary temperament and extraordinary appearance by word of mouth. Unfortunately, the scope was very small, and word of mouth made it less authentic. However, he committed a crime in the street, was a vulgar and ignorant person who only knew how to fight with fists and feet. These rumors that came out of nowhere, with the help of people with ulterior motives, became known to the whole city. Brother, you're back. Is everything going well? The bouncing Fan Ruoro was still as clingy and cute as when she was a child. Seeing Luo Wen return to the backyard, she had been waiting in the courtyard for a long time. She didn't mean to avoid suspicion at all, and rushed straight to him. However, after getting closer, the girl's mind came into play, and she took the pair of tough and muscular arms. A burst of girl's body fragrance, and the fragrance of hair ends, accompanied by the extremely soft friction on the arm, made Luo Wen's body stiff unconsciously. This girl, has she really grown up? Well, it's going well. By the way, where else isn't Teng Zijing? Why are you the only one waiting for me here? Fan Ruoro, with a pretty face slightly drunk, was just immersed in the beautiful memories of her childhood. She also seemed to feel some strange reactions on the body of the person next to her. When she heard Luo Wen's question, she suddenly woke up. "Oh, I almost forgot. Just now, when my father returned home, he had someone arrest the guard Teng and locked him up in the backyard. Moreover, Sis was also punished to kneel at the door of the study." Why is this? Wasn't he fine when he went out this morning? Why is he suddenly arrested and punished to kneel? Luo Wen came in from the front yard and only heard the servants and maids greet him. He really didn't know what was going on. I'm afraid he hasn't heard the rumors about him. Of course, after all, he doesn't pay attention to the topics of street vendors and gossipers. He always finds empty alleys and rarely interacts with people. "Hey, father said that Sis instigated you to fight with Jiuo Baokan in the street and led you to become an enemy of the prince. What, isn't this a false case that has wronged Francis to the end?" With his brain, he can only ask people to stop the carriage in the street at most. He is not willing to spend a little money and even let the servants in his yard pretend to be him. If Francis took the risk of his own body and risked having his arm twisted off, he would deliberately play a trick to make Luo Wen fall for him. Luo Wen couldn't believe that Francis had such a powerful calculation and brain. Besides, isn't Fan Jian a little too careless about his son? Luo Wen knows that his identity as an illegitimate son is just a fake. Not to mention that when he came to this world, it was Wazoo who took him away from the forest outside Kyoto. Even Luo Wen's own divine sense yesterday had already confirmed one thing, that Fan Jian was not his biological father. It was just because he saw that he was so sincere and truly regarded himself as his own son. Luo Wen had already told the truth he knew to the father Fan Jian, who recalls the person when seeing things. "Oh, brother, when can you come back to save me?" Francis, with a lonely expression, was kneeling on the hard floor tiles outside the study door. Although the time was not too long, only half an hour, his knees had already become numb and congested, and he was almost unconscious. He is now a big man, not a child, who was small and light and didn't care. He couldn't stand it. After kneeling for a while, after a long time, he almost thought his legs were going to be broken. While gently leaning back, he pressed the insensitive muscles with his hands. Francis had only one thought at this time, hoping that his brother would come back quickly to save him. "What's wrong? Is it painful to kneel down?" Hissing. "Ouch, brother, do you want to scare me to death?" Silently, Luo Wen, who walked without a breeze, suddenly appeared behind Francis. Seeing the little movements of this kid, he was even more certain that he was just a child with a little more playfulness. He didn't even have any bad intentions, but was made a mess of by Fan Jian and Fan Ruoruo. "Why, you know that you have been wronged by your father. Why don't you explain to him and kneel here honestly?" I dare not." Francis, with an embarrassed face, didn't know when he accepted the fact that Fan Jian was his brother. Anyway, it was familiar after the first time, and calling him brother was also very catchy and natural. "Don't dare." "Okay, I'll go talk to father and ask him to let you go." "TSK, brother, you are my real brother. Go quickly, my legs have no feeling. I'm leaving it to you." Creak, creak, knock, knock. "Father, come in." Click, close the door. Fan Jian in the room did not seem to be as furious as Fan Ruoruo had imagined. Instead, he was looking at the book in his hand leisurely and drinking warm tea. Madam, I just saw Master Fan Jian come back, and he's heading to the study." "Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go and take a look." "Oh, I never thought that this Master Fan Jian has only been home for less than 2 days, and so many things have happened. I just hope that Master can listen to his advice and not put the blame on Zena." On the other side, Liu Ruiyu had been walking around anxiously in her yard for a long time, with a look of anxiety on her face. She had no other choice but to silently pray that Fan Jian should hurry back home. Fortunately, she finally arrived in time. Otherwise, if it was another half an hour, Zena might not be able to walk freely for several days. "How is it? Have you learned anything from the inspection institute?" Fan Jian, who had a serious face, immediately put on a loving and caring expression after seeing Fan Jian's figure. It was only to stop those gossips that he imprisoned Teng Zijing and punished Francis to kneel. As for the rumors from the outside world about how terrible Fan Zion was, Fan Zion of course believed more in his own judgment of Fan Zion yesterday. This boy's a coiled dragon, and one day he will soar into the sky. At that time, all the rumors will be self-defeating. Mother placed too many beautiful things on this world, but it's a pity that she was born at the wrong time and died early. Perhaps I should pay more attention to the legacy she left behind. The inner treasury or the inspection institute should belong to the real owners, not the royal family now. Haha, as expected, I didn't misjudge you. Russell, snap, MMM. A beautiful woman in palace dress tiptoed to behind fences. He had already been frightened once, and at this time, he was listening attentively to the movements in the study in front of him. He didn't pay attention to the back. Francis was almost scared to death by someone suddenly covering his mouth and nose from behind. Fortunately, the smell of his mother and the lack of strength in her hands prevented Francis from shouting at the first time. Shh, don't make any sound, don't talk, don't ask me. Mom, why are you here? Hiss, this kid Francis, he is a real tiger. He forgot what Liu Ruiyu told him in a blink of an eye. When his mother Liu Ruiyu showed up, he thought it was his backer who came, but he didn't know that through yesterday's dinner. Luo Wen knew that the real master who has the final say in the Fan Mansion is still the stern Fan Jian, not the nominal mistress Liu Ruiyu. Chapter 416 Eavesdropping. Is that the second aunt eavesdropping outside the door? Although her footsteps were extremely light and her movements were extremely careful, the smell of incense on her body and the sound of her gentle breathing, even if Luo Wen did not use magic and magical powers, with only the repeatedly suppressed physical perception ability, it was still as if he had seen it with his own eyes. Ziona, that Jiuo Baokan is from the lineage of the Crown Prince, and this is also the object of support for most court officials and major families at present. However, Prince Jing is already extremely talented and is rarely known for his natural intelligence, but he chose to stand on the side of the second prince. Obviously, this was also the Prince Jing's instruction behind his back. Oh, so what? In the Game of Thrones, you will never know who the final winner is until the last moment. Ancient and modern, both at home and abroad, whether in history or in fictional film and television works, they are all full of dramatic changes. And Luo Wen also withdrew his concern for the woman who was eavesdropping outside the door, and looked at Fan Jian in front of him with clear eyes. Whether it is a lineage of the Crown Prince or the so-called lineage of the second prince, I don't care which people are involved behind them. In fact, they are just poor people who are dazzled by power. Alas, it would be great if everyone in the world was like Ziona, who took fame and fortune so lightly. But now that you have decided to get involved, there are some things I have to explain to you. The second prince and the crown prince can be said to be incompatible. You go to fight with Jiuo Baokan and participate in the poetry meeting of Prince Jing. In the eyes of outsiders, they will only think that you chose the second prince. This is no small matter. I'm afraid the crown prince will not tolerate it. You need to be mentally prepared. Fan Jian was persuading him step by step, and he even wanted to teach him everything he had learned in his life. Maybe these were precious wealth accumulated in his life, but to Fan Zion, they were just a useless shackle. The prince is a little too eager. As the crown prince, he tolerates the arrogance of Jiuo Baokan's followers. He has no means to control his subordinates, but he is open-minded. I'm afraid he is not suitable for the supreme position. Oh, so you are really optimistic about the second prince? Prince Jing is polite and gentle, and has the demeanor of modest gentleman. He can attract such a person to be loyal. The second prince is indeed much better than the crown prince. However, if the crown prince is just so shallow, even if he has the support of the eldest princess behind him, he will not be chosen by most of the teams, right? Ziona, did you see something? As the supreme ruler, your majesty can tolerate his own heirs to compete and gamble with their own means. However, he cannot expect an heir who is perfect or even surpasses himself to challenge his dignity and power when he is in his prime. It's like a queen bee in a hive. If a new queen bee appears, she will either be expelled or slaughtered. There are only these two options. And the prince is very likely deliberately hiding his shortcomings and using some deficiencies and weaknesses that can be seen by the world to cover up his true talent and gifts. What he wants is to get more indulgence and development space from your majesty before he is fully grown. If this is the case, then the prince may be more terrifying than the second prince. Hiss this. Fan Jian was indeed shocked, not only by Fan Xian's analysis, but also by the fact that he vaguely felt something unusual, but could not express it. This time, after being analyzed clearly by Fan Xian, he suddenly had a clear feeling of seeing the sun through the clouds. Your Majesty is using this method to choose his own successor. At the same time, he is also examining whether there will be anyone beyond his control among the princes. And I'm the stone he uses to test the waters, or in other words, the person who disturbs this stagnant situation. Then you still want to participate in the poetry meeting tomorrow? Haha, your Majesty is the chess player. He uses the whole Kyoto as the chessboard. No, he uses the whole world as a chessboard. All people in the world are his chess pieces, but why is he so confident and calm? Obviously, in addition to his extraordinary wisdom and overall view, he also has absolute confidence and enough trump cards to ensure that the chess pieces will not escape his control. And I just want to see how he implements his plan step by step. As a chess piece, why can't I enjoy the fun in between? This, Xina, he actually thought of this. However, he may not know that the relationship between him and that person is not as simple as that between a chess piece and a chess player. Alas, King Mui, the child of Yu, and his majesty has grown up and become a person of extraordinary talent that even I'm amazed by. By the way, father, let Sis who is kneeling outside get up. You have wronged him in the first place, and now you have warned him. It's time to let him get up. But everything that happened today was too coincidental. If all this happened by chance in Yishiju, there must be someone who is always monitoring your whereabouts, and Sis might be the key figure. His own father suspects his own son. How miserable is Fan's life? He is not that kind of person. Whether he can come up with such a complicated scheme or not is not the point. The key is that I believe he is not such a complicated person. Oh, do you trust him so much? Sis may not be able to come up with such a chain of schemes, but what about his mother? Have you never doubted her? Dong dong, dong dong. The beautiful woman outside the door began to beat harder, and even her breathing became nervous. Haha, father, don't worry. If I want to do something bad to them and their son, or if I hate them, even if you try again and again and deliberately use words to excuse them, I'm afraid I will not give you this face. Haha, Xina, you really make your father very happy. At this time, Liu Ruiyu, who had been secretly stopping outside the door, realized that she had misunderstood the person next to her. She had always thought that the master treated her and Zeta as outsiders. Now she thought that he had other intentions and was afraid that they would be harmed by the wise and almost demonic Xina, so he deliberately used words to trap him. Russell, Zeta, it's okay, your father will let you up soon, and mother will leave first. Remember, I have never been here, remember. Liu Ruiyu, who was deeply moved, tiptoed to the side of Fan's, looking at her pitiful son, thinking about the conversation between the father and son in the room. After all, she realized her own ability and could not be Fan Xian's opponent, so she gave up the idea of competing with him. Why do you say you've never been here? Silly son. Oh, how can your mother trust you? Creak, bang, get up. Fan Jian and Luo Wen walked out of the study room one after another, but Luo Wen had a faint smile on his face, while Fan Jian turned into the meticulous and serious head of the family, as if he gave all his kindness to Fan Xian. Can I get up? Hiss yoo-hoo. The swaying Fan's almost fell to the ground, and Liu Ruiyu, who had pretended not to have been here, finally put aside those little thoughts and stayed at the scene. At this time, she quickly reached out and supported her son. It's okay, it's just that my legs are numb, I can walk by myself. The silly second boy, in addition to making Liu Ruiyu's face full of anger and laughter, Fan Jian couldn't help but twitch his mouth, and there was a hint of nervousness and worry. Well, wait a minute, don't you want to know why I want to punish you? Why? I must have done something to make dad unhappy. Alas, although the stick makes a filial son, but at this moment, Fan Jian felt that he seemed to be too harsh. Fancies, wait, what do you want? Parents made mistakes, of course. It is impossible to apologize to their children, but they can express their apologies in other ways, such as don't cry, come, and eat. For example, at this moment, Fan Jian put aside his usual seriousness and said with a sincere face, "What do you want?" Chapter 417. Many things. Fan Jian. The dignified and generous second aunt looked at Francis and Fan Jian with a look of satisfaction as they left the study courtyard. The distance between their shoulders seemed to be getting closer and closer, and their heights were almost the same. She might have imagined such a loving father and filial son seen too many times in her dreams, but she didn't expect that the day that really came would be so unexpected, and it was just because of a wild boy from Danzhou who had just arrived in Kyoto the second day. No, it was Ziona who was full of surprises. Aunt, you called me? In the courtyard, besides Luo Wen himself, there was only second Aunt Liu Ruiyu in front of him. Francis and his son had already moved to the garden in the backyard in order to express his apology, or to see if he had neglected his concern for Francis. Fan Jian agreed to his excessive condition calmly and played a game of pay gao with prizes. As for what Luo Wen said in the study, Liu Ruiyu, who was smiling, must have heard it, right? Well, thank you. Liu Ruiyu's tone was very sincere, and her eyes looking at Luo Wen became softer and softer, full of appreciation and love. It's nothing. These are what I, as a brother, should do. I'm just telling the truth. And, Aunt, I think you should control your breathing a little when you lean on the window next time. Father heard it. No, Aunt will never eavesdrop again. The hems of the clothes rustled and whirred. Unless you control it deliberately when walking, there will be a slight sound. Just for this reason, Luo Wen felt that long robes and long coats were really a good way for the powerful class to show their status. Master, I'm causing you trouble again. Teng Zijing, who looked uneasy, felt very sorry at the moment. Not only did he fail to repay the mercy of the Danzhou assassination, but now he was hiding beside Fan Jian and asking him to help him investigate the whereabouts of his wife and children. There is no one in private, so just call me Brother Fan. Since I have made you my friend, I will definitely do what I promised you. Besides, this time you were locked up in the backyard by my father because of me. This matter has nothing to do with you. Oh, Luo Wen waved his hand, looking indifferent, and after hearing this, Teng Zijing's embarrassment calmed down a little. By the way, I've asked the Inspection Institute for you. The document number 534 is in the secret file department. It just takes some time to find it. Wan Qingyan promised to deliver it to you in person tomorrow. Remember to stay away from him when the time comes. I see, Master. Oh, there's no rush. Just wait one more day. Although he said he was not in a hurry, Teng Zijing's eyes dimmed involuntarily. Obviously, it was impossible for him to remain calm when it came to the whereabouts and life and death of his loved ones. Well, Brother Teng, I admire your character. You know right from wrong, you are reasonable, and you have a narrow-minded heart to save the poor in the world. You are in the Inspection Institute, but you are not swallowed by darkness. People like you are really rare. Luo Wen walked with Teng Zijing to his own small courtyard, whispering his opinion of him. Perhaps, it was because of the stone tablet left by Yi Qingmei that Luo Wen changed some of his ideas. Brother Fan, you are too kind. Compared to you, I'm really ashamed. I have an idea. If Brother Teng's wife and children are safe this time, I hope you can leave Kyoto, this place of trouble. I will arrange where to go. Brother Teng, think about it first. Don't rush to answer me. Thank you, Brother Fan, for your kindness and care for me. I will never forget it. As for the Zhu Yuntang that Luo Wen heard about, he did not have any intention of discussing it with Teng Zijing. From the day he came to Kyoto, even the moment when Luo Wen was rejuvenated by the system into a baby, he knew that conspiracy and intrigue would always accompany Fan Jian throughout his life. The involvement and conspiracy in it were just the interests and selfish desires of some bigwigs. Just like Luo Wen himself, wasn't he mentally prepared and started to lay out targeted plans early? Click, brother, Fan Ruoruo, with a lovely smile on her face, had a very lovable expression on her face, since she entered Luo Wen's courtyard. Under the shining light of insects and the lights of Fan Mansion, her white skin, which was already as white as sheep fat, became more crystal clear and charming. Click, snap, Luo Wen was sitting quietly beside the fish pond in the courtyard of the house, completing the manual assembly work with a serious look on his face. There were many metal parts, some wood, tools, and paintbrushes on the long square table. It seemed that the wooden box he brought from Dan's house was filled with these weird things. The night was cool like the wind, and the hot summer in King Kingdom was far less hot than the main world, where Luo Wen was. It might be that the Industrial Revolution had not yet arrived, or it might be that the greenhouse here had not yet affected the natural climate. Why have you and Francis been playing Paygao until now? I didn't see you guys finish playing when I had dinner. Dan's house has a lot of water, and the air is particularly humid. The small bridges and running water, pavilions, and towers in Fan Mansion in Kyoto are more exquisite and elegant. It is not so dry that he has difficulty adapting. However, since Luo Wen has come and recognized the family of Fan Mansion, he naturally has to express his obligations and responsibilities as a family member. On the contrary, the family of four did not even eat dinner and concentrated on the parent-child game of Paygao. Luo Wen said that they must have never experienced the warmth and wonderfulness of this before, so they were a little obsessed for a while. But it's okay, dinner is not eaten together every day. Luo Wen just casually opened the topic. We really underestimated Francis. This guy is a hidden talent, but he is actually a master of Paygao. My aunt, father, and me, everyone has been beaten clean by him. This time, the consumption at Yashija during the day has made him earn back his money, and I'm afraid it is far more than that. Humph. Fan Ruoro, with a wrinkled nose, didn't seem to care how much money she lost, but blamed herself a little. She always looked down on Francis, her brother, and she should reflect on herself for judging people by their appearance. If you lose, you lose. It is the most precious thing for a family to be happy. Otherwise, I will give you some to help you find your mental balance. Click. A bunch of small and delicate parts in Luo Wen's hands are like fluttering butterflies or extremely obedient and natural body movements. While pleasing to the eye, it also gradually reveals a rough prototype, a bit like a symmetrically enlarged balance. No, I probably can't spend all my own money in a lifetime. Besides, I still have all the red envelopes you gave me during the holidays and my birthday. Hey, brother, what is this? I don't think I've seen this when I was in Dan's house. Fan Ruoro, with a blushing face, felt that after Fan Zion came, her whole body and mind were clear and refreshed. The key point was that some wonderful changes seemed to be taking place in the Fan Mansion, and things were getting better and better. This is a hybrid system that uses magnetic induction, dynamic balance, and kinetic energy conversion. It is mainly used in an open indoor environment. The two water tanks on it can be used as water inlets. Under the action of gravity, the power shaft will drive the power shaft, and the transmission shaft will drive the fan blades to rotate, as well as the operation of the atomizer, while cutting the magnetic induction coil. In short, as long as the two water tanks are filled with water, it will continue to rotate repeatedly. The fan will blow out atomized water vapor to make the dry environment more comfortable, especially for girls' skin. Take this back to you. I will make 2 more and send one to my aunt in Sis yard. Wow, brother, you are so good to us. Chapter 418 Poetry Meeting. Prince Jing has his own villa in Kyoto. As a member of the royal family, it is common practice for him to have many friends outside. Moreover, officials like Fan Jian basically live in the same area, which is close to the eastern corner of the imperial city. Naturally, Prince Jingli Hangcheng cannot go to the civilian area to build a villa in a quiet place. It only takes about a quarter of an hour to get from Fan Mansion to Prince Mansion. If you take a carriage or ride a horse, it will probably be even faster. Oh, TSK, why hasn't he come yet? Who knows? Could Fan Zion be just a show-off and deserter from the battlefield? It's hard to say. People say he has a good appearance and extraordinary temperament, but he is just a vulgar man who knows some martial arts. How can he be compared with us literati and scholars? the poetry gathering that was scheduled to officially begin at 2 AM. All the invited guests arrived early. This was a poetry gathering hosted by the prince, and the scale was extremely grand. Even some scholars with official positions and the daughters of those adults would sit at the same table. Maybe due to the restrictions of etiquette, men and women needed to be distinguished. However, if it were normal times, who would have such a good opportunity to perform, or the conditions to be so close to those daughters, ladies of noble families, and talented women? They were all dressed in fine clothes, sitting upright, fearing that they would not notice anything, and make fun of the scholars or ladies present. However, as there were more people, everyone consciously kept quiet, and the breathing sounds rose and fell. Although the doors and windows on both sides of the hall were open, and the gauze curtains were swaying in the wind, the rouge and incense could not blow away the arousing scent, nor could it blow away the nervous and excited mood. The key point is that as the sun rises, the temperature is gradually rising. There is no coolness in the morning here, only the increasingly hot air waves and beads of sweat on the cheeks and back. And Prince Jingli Hancheng, who stood at the door early to welcome the guests, was not in the reception hall, feeling the same with everyone. Without the host, the young talents had no courage to stand up and move around, or drink by themselves. They just quietly opened their collars, or gently lifted their sleeves, and wiped the sweat on their foreheads and faces when no one was paying attention. Compared with the male guests on the right, they were all dressed up, wearing formal brocade clothes and long robes, which made them feel very embarrassed. The female guests on the left were much better. Not to mention the gauze curtain, they each held a beauty fan, wore a refreshing gauze skirt, covered their mouths to communicate, glanced at the front with beautiful eyes, or fanned themselves gently, enjoying the coolness brought by the breeze, which was really very comfortable. Your Highness, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Luo Wen, who was wearing a sky blue long gown, white lining, black cotton boots, a jade belt around his waist, and a metal herring on his head, was dressed very casually. Although it was not the best material and style, it was all made by the maid sisters in the mansion when he was in Danzhou, and naturally it was very close-fitting and comfortable. Moreover, Luo Wen came here not to make a fool of himself, but to make a name for himself. It was enough to dress neatly, and there was no need for him to dress up. He was not the type who needed clothes make the man, and saddles make the horse at this time. Ruoruo, pay your respects to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Oh, no need to be polite. I'm very pleased that Brother Fan and Sister Ruoruo have come here to show their respect. Don't say too much. Follow me in first. Everyone has been waiting for you too. Li Hancheng was, just as Luo Wen evaluated him. He was a gentle, handsome, and modest young man. Although he had an extraordinary temperament and his gorgeous clothes were extremely beautiful, whether Luo Wen did not pay his respects to him, or Fan Ruoruo addressed him casually, this young man always had a calm face, and did not mind at all. I don't know if it was because of the second prince behind him, or if it was just his own character, that he was not bound by conventional etiquette. Creak, creak, Brother Fan. Today, you have to perform well. I'm full of expectations for you, okay? I don't know if Li Hancheng saw some shining point in Luo Wen, or if he noticed something strange from Luo Wen's behavior. In short, he seemed to have known Luo Wen for a long time, and acted very close and familiar. I'm here, sit down, brother your literary talent is better than mine. No matter what, you have to help me to establish the reputation of the illegitimate child without talent. Well, Brother Guo, you're too polite. In terms of appearance or martial arts, I may not dare to compare with you, but in terms of literary talent and knowledge, he will not fall behind. Brother Guo, you can rest assured. In the hall, there was already a commotion of dressing up. No one wanted to be rude in front of the prince. In addition to tea, cakes, and pastries, there were also fresh fruits for consumption on each of the tables arranged vertically and horizontally. Now, 8 out of 10 seats are full, with only 1 or 2 still empty. It is estimated that everyone is indeed waiting for Fan Zion and Fan Ruoruo, the 2 martial artists and talented women of the Fan Mansion. Hiss, but, isn't it said that Fan Zion is big and strong, and has a vulgar character? The wonderful man who walks shoulder to shoulder with the prince, whose appearance and temperament directly surpass the prince. Is he Fan Zion? Oh, look, what a handsome young man. Sister Ting, he can't be Fan Zion, right? Oh, then what about the martial artist that the rumors in the market have been talking about these past 2 days? Amid the discussions, everyone gradually came to their senses. Maybe someone was spreading rumors behind the scenes. Otherwise, how could a handsome young man like Fan Zion become the unbearable person in the rumors? The male and female guests sat down, and Luo Wen was not shy. He was calm in the face of those curious and disturbing eyes. He picked up the teapot and poured himself a cup of tea and then a piece of cake and threw it directly into his mouth. In the eyes of ordinary people, it is very rough and rude, but now Fan Zion interprets the beauty of natural harmony. The owners of those bright and shining eyes can't help but feel their hearts ripple and their eyebrows are shy. The young talents sitting on the same side are either ashamed of themselves, secretly hating themselves for not being good enough, or burning with jealousy, resentful of Fan Zion's appearance, who immediately grabbed the attention of everyone in the scene. Heh, Fan Zion, I didn't expect you to dare to come. Today, I will definitely make you lose face. Among all the people present, the most indignant person must be Guo Baokan, and his number one follower Hezong, where he switched back and forth between Fan Ruoro and Fan Zion, and finally decided secretly that for the sake of his career, he could only lose his love. Really? Then I'll wait and see. All the talented men and beautiful women gathered here today will surely leave behind masterpieces that will be imitated by people all over the world. Well, now that all the guests are here, and the time is perfect, is there anyone willing to start a discussion by making friends through poetry? That's right, your highness is right. When men of letters gather together, they should exchange literary talent and poetry. Only in this way can Guo Baokan flattered without paying, while Prince Jing's son Li Hongcheng, who was sitting in the main seat, remained calm and smiled gently at everyone he looked at. Wait, I just went out of the house yesterday to taste the Kyoto delicacies, but someone came out to act arrogantly and feel good about himself, and there was a conflict between him and me. In just a few hours, even I heard all kinds of rumors, saying that I was a warrior, looked ferocious, impatient and vulgar. TSK, it's really scary. Oh, by the way, I'm Fan Zion, you may have heard of me. Before Guo Baokan finished flattering, Luo Wen drank the tea, the cakes, and tasted the grapes. He stood up, bowed and saluted to the people around him, and then started a long speech. Today, at the invitation of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, I'm here to compete with Mr. Guo in poetry and songs. I'm not talented, but I'm willing to be the one to throw a brick to attract jade. Mr. Guo, since we are ready to fight, why not add some prizes? Hiss, this, humph, you are just a wild boy from Danzhou. What good things can you have to bet with me? Yesterday, Master Guo banned books on the street. Although I don't know the reason, I can't stand it. How about this? Let's use the banned books as the bet. If you lose, you will never mention the banned books again from now on, and you must work hard to lift the ban. TSK, what if you lose? Oh, I lost. Why does Master Guo think I will lose? So confident. Does Fan Zion firmly believe that he will win? Humph, you are not a big person, but you have a big tone. Well, I won't argue with you. If you lose, kneel down and count out to me 3 times. I don't want to bother with you anymore. However, I will set the rules, and my side has to go first. Oh, okay, then Master Guo, please go first. Originally he planned to recite a poem to shock the barren cultural circle of this world. Now that Guo Baokan is willing to be the stepping stone and set the stage for the atmosphere, Luo Wen also sat down with an indifferent look on his face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419 Poetry Meeting 2. In the main world, Luo Wen only watched the first 2 episodes of this costume drama, and did not have a deep understanding of the subsequent plot development, or the story background of the entire original novel. However, everything that happened in the original plot is still being pushed forward by the inertia of the plot. The difference is that Fan Zion was replaced by Luo Wen, and he is no longer just an ordinary time traveler. Even if he doesn't know much about the original work, Luo Wen is a very adaptable person. He has his own principles of doing things, and he has a terrifying strength that far exceeds the cognition of this world, and there is a system that breaks all kinds of restrictions. Everything has changed, but everything seems to have not changed. The system is using its great power to optimize and adjust the system and structure of this world so that everything will return to normal. Well, then, everyone, your highness, I'm a humble GUO, and I'm sorry to show you my ugliness. GUO Baoken only cares about fame and fortune. Outside, he is just an ordinary citizen, so he certainly has no scruples. However, in a different environment, he becomes cautious and careful. Even the cruelty and coldness in his body are quietly restrained, and he puts on the demeanor of modest gentleman. With a swish, he bowed, tidied up his complicated clothes, and stood up from the cushion, where he was kneeling. GUO Baoken didn't know whether he was really nervous or pretending to be incompetent. He stumbled and almost tripped over his own clothes. His face turned red, and his expression and movements were very funny. Tap, tap, 1, 2. GUO Baoken is also a decisive person. He ignored the woman's chuckle behind the veil, and measured the length of the hall again from the entrance with his feet. Your highness, take 10 steps to this point, write down your thoughts here, and recite them aloud. Let the talented scholars and beautiful women present here decide the winner. Okay. A poem can be written in 7 steps. Has this world been changed to a poem can be written in 10 steps? This is fair and just. Luo Wen's mouth curled up slightly, thinking that GUO Baoken was not an unforgivable person. Of course, what they want is just to be fair and just. In front of everyone, it is naturally impossible to call a deer a horse. Luo Wen also knows this. Wow. Li Hangcheng, the Prince of Jing, who was sitting on the main seat, waved his sleeves with expectation on his face. Great, this method is very good. Brother Fan, what do you think? Oh, I think so. Mr. GUO is indeed very righteous and well versed in the principles of fairness and justice. Cut, kid, don't think that. If you say nice things now, I will let you go later. There is no question set on the spot in this poetry meeting. This poem can be written in 10 steps, but it is just to divert everyone's attention. Creak, creak, click. 2 servants from the prince's mansion carried a new desk and placed it at the end of 10 steps, which was exactly where the prince sat. There were no irrelevant objects on it, only the best snow paper, a well-made wolf hair brush, a ruler, and ink. In the backyard of the prince's mansion, a young man in gorgeous clothes with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes was leaning barefoot on the soft couch in the pavilion. In one hand, he held a blue-covered book called The Origin of the World, and in the other hand, he grabbed amethyst grapes on the chopping board. Wonderful, wonderful. The author of this book must be a genius who has never appeared in the world. What is described in it is really eye-opening and amazing. Ta-ta, ta-ta. A servant in a grey short coat was coming in a hurry. However, at the entrance of the water pavilion, a stern swordsman with a sharp edge like a sword stopped the nervous servant with a hand. Talk about it here. Plop, the prince asked me to report that there will be a poetry competition ahead. GUO Baoken proposed that one poem should be written every 10 steps, and the poems written will be compared before dark. Oh, Fan Zion agreed. Fan Zion refused. He said that, no matter how many poems GUO Baoken wrote, he would only write one, and the winner would be decided. What a crazy tone. The handsome young man in the pavilion did not speak. Instead, the swordsman who was guarding in front had a sharp look in his eyes, which made people dare not look directly at him. The servant who was just an ordinary person was so frightened that he trembled and lowered his head even lower, directly hitting the ground. Heh, interesting. Bang Fan Zion, you are too arrogant. It's only 3/4 of the morning hour now. There are at least 4.5 hours until it is completely dark. You only need to write one poem. No matter how many we write, you can win the game. Aren't you looking down on us talented people? Before GUO Baoken said anything, the first person to hit the table to express his dissatisfaction was Izanui, who had been holding his breath and performing the second best. It was a pity that he, who was originally the most concerned by everyone, did not feel worse treatment because of the second place. Instead, he completely became a passerby, and all the eyes and attention were monopolized by Fanzan. Oh, in that case, why don't you hurry up? Hiss, this guy's words are so annoying. Haha, my brother is my brother, just like when we were kids. If he doesn't do anything, it's fine, but once he does, it's bound to be a big hit. Haha, brother, don't take it too seriously. Maybe this guy can only write one poem. Luo Wen stood in the middle of the hall, but he could feel the annoyance of those whose vision was blocked. Anyway, as long as he could make Fanzan unhappy, he would be most willing to do it. Unfortunately, he didn't see the slightest bit of unhappiness on Fanzan's face. Mr. Guo, time is very precious. Are you still recalling the poems you memorized? You. Luo Wen, whose thoughts were exposed, had a green and red face. He almost threw himself at Fanzan and fought to the death, regardless of his image. However, when he thought of so many people watching and Fanzan's extraordinary bravery yesterday, Luo Wen weighed his boxing skills and swallowed his anger. HMPH, you country bumpkin, you only know how to talk. Huh, your highness, I'll start then. Well please, Mr. Guo. Tap, tap. Luo Wen, who walked past the crowd with an arrogant attitude, quickly adjusted his state, one hand in front, one hand behind his back, shaking his head, as if he was brewing the literary spirit in his chest. Dang, dang. After only 3 steps forward, his pair of peach blossom eyes began to shine, as if he was inspired to write poetry. Poetry is inspired by what it feels like, and I suddenly feel something at this moment. I won't be polite, haha. He took 2 steps at a time, and no longer pretended to be a scholar. It might be Luo Wen's words that stimulated Luo Wen to lose his elegant mood, and he was eager to prove himself. Swish, swish, he swung the brush and applied ink. It only took a few dozen breaths. Wow, click, he put down the ruler and stood up leisurely. Luo Wen had finished writing. Not to mention, his handwriting was neat, which showed that he had some skills. Swish, he shook the white and crystal clear snow paper. This was the paper produced by Xinghua Fang. It was most suitable for writing poems and paintings. It was soft and tough, as smooth as jade, and could not be rotten or decayed. The ink had a variety of rhymes. This piece of paper was worth a penny. It was really not something that a wealthy family could afford. Haha, the clouds and green towers were covered with dew. The jade boats outlined the wind in the brocade hall. The smoke and waves covered the sky, and a little literary thought reflected the remaining lights. Click, 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 good poem. The whole room cheered and applauded. What? Alas, Luo Wen knew that the culture of this world was barren, and the history of each country was even briefer. He just didn't expect that the poems written by Luo Wen, except for being catchy, were completely nonsense. The ancient poetry generator, which was casually synthesized, was probably better than this one with neat parallelism. Even so, he was still a palace compiler. However, Luo Wen had no need to belittle Luo Wen. Justice is in the hearts of the people, and the good and the bad will be judged by the talented men and beautiful women present. Moreover, Luo Wen believed that the handed-down works of the main world would surely allow the people present to feel the charm of the 7-character quatrain. Haha, Mr. Guo has great literary talent. I have learned a lot from him. I wonder if Mr. He over there has any other good works. Don't hide them. Hurry up and take them out. Chapter 420, Becoming Famous with a Poem. HMPH. Since Mr. Fan thinks this poem is not worth mentioning, then I will also present my poem. Mr. Guo, please. Well, Mr. He, you must teach this kid a lesson and put down his arrogance. Luo Wen, who was holding his calligraphy, whispered to He Zhongli. However, Luo Wen acted as if he didn't hear it. Even elephants don't care what ants think. As a land immortal, how could he care about these 2 people and what threats they would pose to him? Everyone, your highness, when I left my hometown and went to Kyoto, I was full of confidence and wrote a poem. Although it was simple, it also expressed my inner thoughts. This kid is not straightforward at all. Why do I feel that he is deliberately showing off wherever he goes? Mr. He, you should read the poem first. My time is actually very precious. Why does this guy always like to interrupt others? Okay, then he will start. Dong dong, dong dong. He took steps full of heroic spirit, lifted up his sleeves, and began to brew the emotions in his heart, looking eastward to the shore of the clouds and sky, wearing white clothes, and stepping on the frost and cold. Don't say that you are alone and far away. There are green mountains to see you off. The sonorous and powerful, full of strong emotions and lofty ambitions, and Luo Wen also thought that his Onlu's 5-character poem was pretty good. Wow, papa. Good. This poem is really well written, whether it is the artistic conception or the words. They are all very attentive. There are green mountains to see you off. Wonderful. Even Guo Baokan's doggerel. There are people who come forward to praise it. This talented Izangli. That one thunderous applause from the audience. Even the women behind the opposite veil are also yinging yan. There was a commotion of sweet voices. Mr. He, I appreciate your literary talent. I wonder if you have any more good works. If not, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. He's Angli, who had just sat down with a fist salute, didn't have time to thank the people present for their praise. Unexpectedly, the annoying Fan Zion interrupted him again. Everyone can talk big. If you have the ability, just write it. Mr. Fan, we are not the kind of reckless people who use our power to oppress others. What do you think? Oh, this Izangli actually had something else to say, and he was hinting at something. Sure enough, the words and pens of writers are the sharpest weapons in the world. The ancients were right. Of course, Fan agrees. Your Highness, I'm sorry to show you my ugliness. Ta-ta. Luo Wen was not far from the desk where he was writing poems. He didn't bother to argue anymore. He stood up, took 2 steps, and knelt quietly in front of the desk. He picked up the pen, and looked at the size of the paper in front of him. Phew, his pen moved like a dragon, and his face looked dignified. Although Luo Wen was acting like a plagiarist, he still had to show the minimum respect for the writers in the main world. At least, when he wrote other people's poems, his handwriting had to be decent, and his attitude had to be respectful and serious. His Fan Zion's body seemed to be integrated with the whole world. His ethereal temperament was like a banished immortal. His back, as he wrote seriously, made the girls behind the veil stare at him involuntarily. Li Hongcheng, who was sitting at the head of the table, also knew that the highlight of today's poetry gathering was coming. The key point was that Fan Zion's writing was as if assisted by a god. Although his calligraphy was not from any particular school, it was neat and antithetical, making people feel as if they were immersed in it and unable to extricate themselves. It was like the founder of a school of their own, personally demonstrating calligraphy in front of him. Dong dong. Prince Jing hurriedly stood up and walked from the head of the table to behind Fan Zion with a respectful look. He bowed slightly, as if he was observing the etiquette of a disciple, and when he looked at the white paper with his head raised, he was afraid that his actions would interfere with the creation of the master, so he did not dare to move forward any further. What is this? The unusual behavior of Prince Jing made everyone present curious. The ladies who were hiding behind the veil, and whose figures were hazy, came out at this time with lotus steps. The young talents did not care to appreciate the beautiful scenery, and walked quickly to the empty space, surrounded by the crowd. They all stretched their heads, and looked inside anxiously. Dong dong. Report. This is the masterpiece of Mr. Fan Zion that the prince ordered us to send. Read. The wind is strong and the sky is high, the monkeys are howling, the sand is clear and the white birds are flying back. Hiss, is this a poem written by Fan Zion? An expert can tell whether it is good or not with just one look. Luo Wen in the reception room unexpectedly chose the same 7-character quatrain as the Fan Zion in the original play for no reason. However, the handwriting of Fan Zion, who was looking for girls to show off, is even more horrible and unbearable to look at. Luo Wen, who had gone through several different planes and time, had become the protagonist of today from a worker at the bottom of society. He undoubtedly understood Du Fu's poem Climbing the Heights more thoroughly, and it was more in line with Luo Wen's true portrayal at this time. Report. Read it quickly. After writing a sentence, a servant would pass it to the backyard. The handsome and casual young man had already looked crazy at this time, like a poetry fanatic who was thirsty for literature. Of course, in terms of book fans, he should be called a poetry fan. The boundless fallen leaves are rustling down, and the endless Yangtze River is rolling in. This is wonderful, indescribable. Report. Don't talk nonsense, read it quickly. I'm often a guest in the sad autumn of thousands of miles, and I'm alone on the stage for 100 years. What a sentence. I'm often a guest in the sad autumn of thousands of miles, and I'm alone on the stage for 100 years. Why did such a talented person only appear in the world today? What a pity. What a pity. If I could know it earlier. Report. Hardship, bitterness, and white hair. I have just stopped drinking. Still wanting more, feeling lost, without waiting for the nobleman in the waterside pavilion to urge him, the servant cleverly started to recite, and the young man, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of satisfaction, as if his whole body and heart were washed from the outside to the inside, and soaked in the thick smell of books and ink. Dong dong, dong dong. Except for the deliberately suppressed breathing, the rest was blushing, and endless admiration and worship were overflowing. The poem was beautiful, full of vicissitudes and ambitions. The words were beautiful, one stroke at a time, like the best carver in the world, using chisels and hammers to carve them into everyone's hearts. The key point was that everyone didn't know if it was their own illusion, but they always felt that there was a layer of fairy air lingering on the paper, and then slowly merged into the font. Every word seemed to come alive, with an aura of transcendence and agility. Not to mention, Fan Zion, who was holding his breath and concentrating, had already shocked the ladies present. The back of him who had just written the peerless poem seriously made them sink into it, wishing they could give themselves to him, full of infinite reverie. At this time, the scene was quiet and peaceful, with dozens of people in the crowd. There was only heartbeat except breathing. If an embroidery needle fell to the ground at this time, everyone would be dissatisfied, thinking it was too noisy, and destroying this beautiful atmosphere and artistic conception. Swish, what I said before still counts. As long as there is someone who can surpass my poem climbing the mountain, Fan Zion will never write again from now on. Of course, Master Guo, Master He, if you can come up with a better one, I will kneel down and kowtow to you. Anyone, any voice, as long as they appear, will cause displeasure to the people in the scene. However, there is one exception, and that is the great man Fan Zion recognized by everyone. Hiss what? Your Highness, I have already experienced today's poetry gathering. I wonder if there will be lunch served at noon. Otherwise I will take my leave and go home. Of course. I have invited the imperial chef from the palace, and I will definitely satisfy Brother Fan. This masterpiece that will be handed down from generation to generation actually came from Brother Fan's hands, and was born in my house. Han Qing has no regrets in this life. Haha. The madness of Prince Jing, and the flickering eyes of those girls. Luo Wen just felt that he might have overexerted, or did he accidentally write a trace of spiritual power through the tip of the pen into the text, further intensifying these people's madness? Chapter 421 missed again. Everyone, do you have any other poems to compare? Otherwise, my brother's poem will be the undisputed champion of this poetry meeting. Hehe. Compared to Luo Wen's calm and composed expression, the gentle smile on his face seemed so unfathomable. Fan Ruoro acted as if the poem came from her hand. No, even more so. Her face was flushed with excitement, and she could hardly contain her excitement. This. Oh, Master Guo, Master He, do you have any other good works? Bewildered and at a loss, he Zhangwei and Guo Baokan, faced with the personal question from Prince Jing, opened their mouths and nodded, not knowing how to respond. Wow, this poem is so amazing. Even the calligraphy is unique, with the strength of creating a new school. Miss Fan, this is my doodle. Could you please pass it to your brother and ask him to correct it? Yes. Please pass it on to your brother for me. One day when Mr. Fan is free, I would like to invite you and your brother to a banquet at Yishiju. Sword energy, and it is a sword energy of an 8th grade master? Luo Wen didn't want to use his divine sense casually in someone else's house. It would be bad if he saw some hot scenes and peeped into some privacy. However, the enhanced 5 senses brought by the 4-dimensional attributes sometimes made him unable to restrain the intuitive perception from instinct, especially the masters who were hiding murderous intent and evil thoughts. Guard Teng, you stay here and look after the young lady. I'll be back soon. Oh, yes, young master. Luo Wen stood up, attracting another round of sparkling glances. Your Highness, I want to go to the bathroom. Can you show me the way? Oh, come on. Take Master Fan to the backyard quickly and serve him carefully. Don't be negligent. The crowd surrounding the desk. Until now no one has dared to step forward and touch the masterpiece, for fear of tarnishing the fairy spirit, and also because this calligraphy treasure from the hands of a master, its final destination will definitely be the owner here, that is, the Prince of Jing. Who dares to snatch the favorite of His Highness the Prince? Mr. Fan, please follow me this way. Haha, the smiling servant seemed to understand that Fan Zion at this time had a different status. He might not know how to read, and he couldn't understand the artistic conception and beauty of the words of the talented scholars and beautiful women. However, this young man's handwriting was very beautiful, his poem sounded good, and he looked so attractive that people wanted to get close to him. Thank you. Click, click, Luo Wen disappeared in the reception room. Those who adhered to the model of ladies and suppressed their excitement could no longer be suppressed at this time. They chatted and whispered to each other. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Eunuch Hao looked delighted and proud, holding a letter sent by a spy outside the palace, and hurried to the imperial study. What's wrong? So excited. Oh, Master Fan just wrote a unique and good poem. Wow, it's really wonderful. Oh, 9. Yes, the wind is strong and the sky is high, the monkeys are howling, the sand is clear and the white birds are flying back. The boundless fallen leaves are rustling down, and the endless Yangtze River is rolling in. I'm often a guest in the sad autumn of thousands of miles away, and I'm alone on the stage for 100 years of illness. I'm suffering from hardships and hatred and my hair is covered with frost, and I have just stopped drinking muddy wine. His good poem, such deep talent, extraordinary literary talent, and lofty realm. Fan Zion actually has such a talent, he is worthy of being her child. From the time Eunuch Hao finished reading the poem to the time when Luo Wen finished writing the poem in the prince's mansion outside the palace wall, it took less than a moment. Such amazing intelligence collection and transmission capabilities are really amazing. You have to know that this is a feudal society, which is not much more advanced than the slash and burn farming. Well, this poem is well written, with brilliant literary talent, but it is a bit too decadent. Indeed, Emperor King could not find any other shortcomings. If he were to write the same masterpiece, it would be difficult. However, as the supreme ruler, he must learn to hide his joy and not tell others about his satisfaction and love. Your Majesty, after Master Fan Zion finished writing this poem, he went to the backyard to meet the second prince. The second prince was guarded by swordsmen, and it was difficult to get close to him. I couldn't hear what they said, but just what? According to the spy's report, Master Fan Zion caught Ziban's sword in the air with just one palm. Caught it? Just say it in one breath. If you have something to say, don't be hesitant. Yes, Master Fan Zion caught Ziban's sword with his bare hands and blasted it into powder, but did not hurt Ziban at all. With a click, the sweat beads on Eunuch Hao's forehead fell unconsciously on the bright and moist floor tiles. At this time, he was even more silent and did not dare to look up to see Emperor King's expression. Could he really be the young master? Impossible. I was in King Temple that day, why didn't I feel anything? Oh, forget it. Where's the prince? Your Majesty, the prince is visiting the princess in Guangxin Palace. Humph, he is quite attentive. Go, give him this poem, and ask him to recite it carefully. By the way, tell him about the affairs of Prince Jing's mansion. Yes, I'll do it right away. To be with the emperor is like being with a tiger. Eunuch Hao knows this very well. Even the cold sweat that he had dried up without realizing it, he found it was gone when he walked out of the palace. Luo Wen met the second prince in the backyard. He was an interesting young man who was not bound by conventional etiquette and had a very deep hidden nature. At least after Luo Wen intimidated the second prince's personal master with a palm. Except for the slight shrinkage of his pupils, his face showed a calm and sincere smile without any fear. In this way, the communication between Luo Wen and him seemed particularly easy, because For a smart man like him, judging the situation has already become his body's instinct, and what the second prince wants, at least at this stage, does not conflict with Luo Wen, and there are even many places for cooperation and win-win. Ta-ta. Luo Wen and the second prince, after less temptation from ordinary people, initially reached a tacit understanding, the kind that does not need to speak, just a few simple words. After leaving a deep impression in each other's heart, the two bowed and said goodbye. After Luo Wen left the backyard and turned to walk into the reception room in the front yard, a beautiful woman in white clothes carefully poked her head out and ran out of the kitchen. She looked pure and innocent like a fairy, but she was holding a big chicken leg tightly in her hand, like a greedy little fairy. This person is naturally Linwana, who rushed here after hearing the news. However, she couldn't bear the love and longing for the chicken leg in her heart. In addition, she was a little bored waiting, so she ran away and ran to the kitchen to steal the chicken leg. According to the setting in the original play, it was clearly another beautiful encounter between Fan Zion and Linwana, a pair of golden boys and girls, and it also triggered a series of misunderstandings. Unfortunately, Fan Zion in this dimension was replaced by Luo Wen. Not only did he not miss Linwana, he planned to let everything go with his heart and let nature take its course. He came to the poetry meeting just to enter and stir up the situation, not to find the so-called chicken leg girl. Moreover, Teng Zijing's changes are also great. His respect and gratitude towards Luo Wen are even more blessed with a deep fear. Oh, miss, why did you sneak out again, making it so hard for me to find you? Also, why did you eat chicken legs again? Didn't the doctor say that you can't have any meat? The pink and green girl Wan Kyo couldn't keep an eye on the young lady every time, but she could always find her after Linwana succeeded. I really didn't know if it was the arrangement of the plot, or if this maid was using this method to relieve the depression in her young lady's heart. Crunch, crunch. Linwana, who was squatting in a corner of the porch, looked like a little fox who was stealing food. In addition to the grease on the corners of her mouth, her hands were also covered with grease. Shh, keep your voice down. How about it? Did you see Fan Zion in the front yard? Oh, I'm here to look for you. How could I have the time to look for Fan Zion? If we go out like this now, won't everyone laugh at us? Wait, I'll find a place to wash up first. Click. Linwana, like a little girl who had done something wrong and was caught, threw the chicken leg bone in her hand into the flowers, and then giggled cutely. Chapter 422 Wan Kinian's Little Thoughts. Brother, are we going back so early today? There are still many ladies and talented women who want to talk about the past and present with you, and discuss poetry and songs. Fan Ruoro, with a teasing look on her face, didn't know why she suddenly felt inexplicably sad. However, compared to her brother Fan Zion's lifelong happiness and finding his true love, her reluctance and sorrow seemed insignificant. Counting on her fingers, she kept taking out colorful silk scarves and handkerchiefs, as well as colorful letter papers with the scent of flowers from her sleeves. She was a complete brother-loving demon. Fan Ruoro's enthusiasm and earnestness made Luo Wen a little overwhelmed. Okay, just help me deal with these things. The lady from a noble family just now, and those talented women, although they are charming and have their own characteristics, they are not destined to be with me. I can figure out my own worries. But you, little girl, should worry less. Creak. Fan Ruoro's expression and movements were so cute that Luo Wen couldn't help but like her in his heart and stretched out his hand to gently scratch her nose. Brother, you're so annoying. I'm so old now, why are you still scratching my nose like when I was a child? She looked like a coquettish and unwilling person, but her face was full of shyness, and she was very happy. Tap, tap, swish, whoosh, master, we're home. Oh, okay, God Teng, you've been with us for the whole morning, and now you haven't eaten a single grain of rice. Go downstairs to have lunch and rest for an hour, then come to my courtyard to take up your duties. Okay, master. Swish, let's go. Ruoro, you must not have eaten enough just now at Prince Jing's mansion. Didn't I tell you not to be too hard on yourself, and to be too conventional? Otherwise, you'll be like me, looking too old and heavy. You're so slender that any gust of wind can blow you away. Where can I, your brother, Find another cute and lovable sister like you. Swish. Brother, I find that you have indeed gained a lot of vitality in the past few days, since you came to Kyoto, which you didn't have when you were a child. Even your speech makes people feel very close. By the way, I want to eat the wontons you made by yourself, with 3 fresh delicacies, shrimp, and pork. I want to eat them all. The shyness on her face was bright and tempting, and the requests in her mouth made Luo Wen helpless. This little girl, who made people love and care for her, had obviously grasped his weak spot of being a sister-doting maniac. Okay, all up to you. Whatever you want to eat, I'll make it for you. At noon, Luo Wen's goal had been achieved. He had already taken the first step to become famous. All he had to do next was wait for things to ferment. As for Guo Baokan and Hizanli, they shrank aside in dejection, not daring to look him in the face. They were just insignificant little people, so Luo Wen did not bother with them. Instead, he simply had a glass of wine at the banquet, said hello to the Prince of Jing, and left the Prince of Jing's mansion. Gurgle, gurgle. Many new tools have been added to the semi-open stove, which is obviously different from other kitchens in Fan Mansion. There are no less than 20 or 30 kinds of seasonings in bottles and jars. In Luo Wen's yard, except for the lack of a small door leading to the outside of the yard, kitchen, utility room, warehouse, study, living room, it can be said that everything is available. And the servants were also told by Luo Wen that they only need to sweep the floor every morning and don't need to come to serve at other times. Brother, hurry up, the water is boiling. Have you wrapped it over there? The delicate and beautiful daughter of a wealthy family, wearing a dignified gauze skirt at this time, has turned into a lovely little cook, holding the pot lid in one hand and the sieve in the other. Her small and white nose and face were stained with traces of flour at some point. She asked Luo Wen to prepare various flavors and shapes for her. Luo Wen, the lone fairy, also took out a box of ingredients from the storage space while going upstairs to get the stuffing. Otherwise, where can I go to meet Fan Ruoro's various urgent requests in a short time? I'm coming. This little girl, Luo Wen didn't ask her to help, but she had to follow and busy herself, making flour all over her face and body. The key is that the water just surged, and she was impatient and yelled. The first talented woman in Kyoto. Now it seems that she is also a little idiot in life at home. Wow. A spoonful of boiled water was poured in to cool the boiling water down quickly, and some fine salt was sprinkled in. Wow. Little foodie. Wait. It will be ready soon. Luo Wen took a wooden tray and poured various cute wontons in various shapes directly into the warm water. While Fan Ruoro had an admiring look on her face and a burning gaze, he took advantage of the gap between gentle stirring to slide out a mutton fat jade bottle from his sleeve and gently dripped in a magical medicine essence with a dreamy aura. In an instant, the strange fragrance filled the air, which lifted people's spirits and made their mouths water with great anticipation. Wow, it smells so good. Brother, you have such condiments. Why did you take them out now? I don't care. From now on, you have to be responsible for 3 meals a day. I will eat you. You are not asking for the essence of the elixir. You really want to eat and drink for free, right? Hoo-hoo, the sun is scorching, and Fan Ruoro, who has eaten and drunk enough, is full of energy, but the power of the medicine that nourishes her limbs and bones begins to take effect. How can she, a girl who has not practiced martial arts or special skills, bear it easily? Her whole body is as if wrapped in warmth, her mind is groggy, and she is very sleepy. Finally, she is led back by her personal maid to take a nap. The small courtyard, which has become quiet in an instant, has restored its original environment without the laughter and shouting of the lark. Luo Wen cleaned up the kitchen, put on the tea table, and quietly watched the koi in the patio pool while waiting for the arrival of guests. According to the time, this hour is a good time for Wan Kinian to skip work and take a break. Swish, whoosh, sizzle, hey, thump. There was a loud noise of an adult falling to the ground, and a pile of pottery jars stacked against the wall to dry happened to block the feet of Wan Kinian, who was an expert in light work. When he jumped in, as if there was no one around, thinking of coming to investigate Fan Zan's background, He fell on his back like a vicious dog pouncing on its prey. Fortunately, the wall along the courtyard was paved with soft fine sand and pebbles, not hard tiles, and Wang Qinian did not suffer any external injuries except for the pain from the scratch. Brother Wang, you have come here. Why are you bowing so prostrate yourself? Please stand up quickly. Please stand up quickly. I, Fan, cannot bear such a great honor from you. Haha, Luo Wen only said nice things, but his body, which was sitting cross-legged at the table, did not show any intention of standing up. The key point was that there was a playful chuckle at the corner of his mouth, which clearly meant that Wang Qinian deserved it, because he had no right to go through the main gate, and had to do such sneaky things. Ahem, haha, excuse me for laughing. It's Wang's fault for not learning his skills well enough to cause Master Fan to misunderstand me. I ran away from the inspection institute secretly. It would be bad if outsiders saw me, so, haha. Puff, puff. Wang Qinian, feeling embarrassed, quickly got up from the ground and looked around. He found that the yard was quiet and there was not even a servant. He breathed a sigh of relief. He patted the sand and dirt on his body, with a flattering smile on his face. He walked quickly into the main house with open doors and windows. At the same time, his sleeve slipped, and a scroll with a faint smell of fresh ink appeared in his hand. Oh, I guess this is the file number 534 of Dingzi that he specially modified yesterday to delay time. However, Teng Zijing and he were not familiar with each other, nor were they old friends. Why would this middle-aged man who always pretended to be honest and harmless be willing to risk offending himself, the Tissy, by cheating? Luo Wen couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Chapter 423, Taking Advantage of the Situation. Wang Qinian was wary of Fan Zian, although he was polite and warm on the surface. From Luo Wen's observations of the few times he met him, he knew that this man was very good at hiding his true intentions, and was smooth and cunning. Of course, although Luo Wen spoke in a friendly manner, and called him Brother Wang, he was also suspicious of this man's unusual behavior. He suddenly appeared outside the gate of Kyoto, and told his origins very naturally. He pretended to blackmail the rich kids who passed by, and few of them let him go. I'm afraid this is just what he did. Haha, oops, I came out in a hurry, and didn't even have time to eat lunch. TSK, Master Fan, you don't mind, do you? Not only is his Kingang amazing, even ordinary 8th and 9th rank masters may not be able to compare with him. Wang Qinian's quick eyes and hands also made Luo Wen think highly of him, just like his instinctive reaction in the back alley of Yeshiju yesterday. For example, the exquisite snacks on the table at this moment were gone by half as soon as his sleeves turned up. Of course, it's because of me that Brother Wang has to suffer. Thank you again, Brother Wang. Come, have some tea, don't choke. Gurgle, gurgle, ha, burp ha. By the way, this is a task that Master Fan assigned to Wang, and I almost forgot. While handing the case file in his hand to Fan Zian, Wang Qinian did not forget to clear the cakes and tea on the table. And when he was not paying attention, he used his peripheral vision to quietly glance at the young man's handsome face. He should not have noticed what I had done, right? Swish, swish. Luo Wen's eyes were focused on reading the long scroll in his hand. When he saw the last few sentences, Teng Zijing's family was secretly murdered by the servants of Jiuo Baoken's family, and the whole family was wiped out, he suddenly noticed something strange. Wang Qinian was actually observing him secretly. He changed the content of the case file, and now he was observing him secretly, and even deliberately acted greedy and stingy, plucking feathers from passing geese. What was all this for? Wow, this is exactly what I want. Thank you, Brother Wang. Luo Wen put away the case file in his hand, and Wang Qinian's eyes naturally greeted him. The cakes on the table and the pot of warm tea were also in his stomach. Haha, no, this is what I should do. I have to thank Lord Fan for his hospitality. Haha. Thinking that he had done it perfectly, or rather, Wang Qinian had never thought about why the cakes on the table were not touched, and why the water in the teapot was just warm and suitable. He saw Fan Zian's gentle smile and sincere gratitude, and he put aside all his thoughts, and bowed to return the greeting. Brother Fan, I just saw Wang Qinian from afar on the corridor. Is he? Your wife and children have been harmed by Jiuo Baoken. This is the file. Take a look for yourself. Teng Zijing, who hurried over, suddenly turned pale. He snatched the scroll from Luo Wen's hand and began to read it carefully. Luo Wen looked at Teng Zijing, who was in great shock, but did not tell him directly about the original volume he had seen, and his motive for lying to Wan Qinian. To put on a complete show, of course, Wan Qinian should reveal his flaws himself, and then he would be tricked. Luo Wen did not want to expose more of his cards and strength due to external factors. Moreover, if Teng Zijing was not allowed to experience the pain of loss, how could he be willing to listen to his suggestion and take his wife and children away from Kyoto, a place of right and wrong? No, 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 no. How could my wife and children die? Guo Baoken, Guo Baoken. With a click, the scroll fell to the ground, and Teng Zijing, with red eyes and heavy breathing, showed his murderous intent at this time, and it was obvious that the hatred in his heart could no longer be controlled and restrained. Sir, I want to kill Guo Baoken, and I have to go now. Can you give me a day? If I can come back alive, you can beat me or kill me as you please. You are in great pain now. I may not understand. No one can remain indifferent when their loved ones are killed. I can understand this. But, are you sure you can kill Guo Baoken if you go now? My father knows that you are still alive, and the inspection bureau or other people can't hide it for long. You are making such a big fuss. I'm afraid that, before you find Guo Baoken, you will be discovered and taken to the Ministry of Justice or the Inspection Bureau for questioning. Rustling. Teng Zijing was trembling all over, and he couldn't stop the anger in his heart, but he had to listen to the words of Fan Zian in front of him, because his life and freedom depended on the thoughts of this young man who regarded him as a friend. Wait a minute, since Guo Baoken has done such a ruthless murder and evil things, I will also think of a way for us to sneak up on him and create a sufficient alibi. At that time, it will be up to you to decide whether to beat or kill Guo Baoken. This, Brother Fan, thank you very much. Master, the maid with a smile on her face took small steps and ran in from outside the yard. Well, what's the matter? Brother, then I'll go and tell Prince Jing a message, but let me make it clear first, you must take me with you to the Liujing River and the Huachuan Art Museum. I'm afraid you can't control yourself. Fan Ruoro glanced at her brother Fan Zian in a low voice, and seeing his surprised look, she turned around and left with satisfaction. Anyway, her brother's business is her business, and brother Fan Zian's friends are her friends. To be enemies with brother Fan Zian is to be enemies with her. Privately, this clever little girl had already collected Guo Baoken's likes and dislikes, as well as relevant information about the Lin family princess, the crown prince, the second prince, and the eldest princess in the past few days, just waiting for the critical moment to give her brother advice and help. Unexpectedly, it started to play a role so soon. Hello, miss. Yes, rustling, master, the Lin family princess is outside the gate. She said she wants to see you. After the maid greeted Fan Ruoro, she stepped forward and began to report. Fan Ruoro, who had already walked away, was afraid that she would not run into Lin Wana when she went out of the main gate. The Lin family princess, the one who is engaged to me, came alone. What's going on? In feudal society, the most important thing is the credibility of etiquette, not to mention the unmarried girl like the Lin family princess, and her identity is even more sensitive. Luo Wen did not take the initiative to be curious about the appearance and personality of this fiancée, but he did not expect that she would come to the door first. Well, besides her, there is also a personal maid. They are waiting in the carriage outside the gate. Oh, then please ask them to go to the reception room first. I'll be there right away. It is not necessary for Luo Wen to hide, since he is here. Besides, he just has a good impression of the temple girl. If he can meet her in the future, he will meet her. If he doesn't meet her, he can only say that he is not destined to be with her in this life. Although he was a little tempted at the time, after a few days, Luo Wen faded the idea. It is better to go and see this fiancé first to find out what the intention is. Brother Teng, since Ruoro has taken the initiative to agree to help us, your problem can be solved soon. I have guests coming to visit, so you can rest in the yard and calm down first. Yes, young master, I'm sorry to trouble you with my problem. Teng Zijing, who was full of murderous aura at this time, naturally knew that he was not suitable to act with Fan Zan. Besides, every time Fan Zan took him out, it was to protect him, not for him to protect Fan Zan. Forget it, no one wants to see such a result. If it is confirmed that it was Gyuo Baokan who gave the order, he should pay the price for his actions. Chapter 424. Why is it you? Miss Lin, please have some tea. Our young master will be here soon, haha. The maidservant of the Fan Mansion, with a smile on her face, looked at the girl in white in front of her, and was involuntarily impressed by her noble temperament. The key is that besides being gentle and beautiful, she also treats servants with a kind temper. Such a young lady is really a good match for the young master. Oh please, cough, cough, Wan Qiu, my coat. Oh, miss, why are you always so stubborn? Why don't you let Fan Zan go to the carriage outside the gate to talk to you? Why do you have to come in to see him in person? Wan Qiu, wearing a pink and green palace skirt, has a pair of beautiful almond eyes and a round oval face. At this time, she frowned with curved willow leaf eyebrows, but there was no lethality at all, only endless pity and a hint of cuteness of a delicate and innocent girl. Ah, isn't the body of the Lin family princess too weak? She's only a few dozen steps away, but she's already blushing and panting, and coughing non-stop. How can she live in harmony with our young master, and accompany him for the rest of his life? The maid who was standing quietly by the side waiting for orders couldn't help but start to think wildly. At this moment, Luo Wen walked to the corridor. Hey, that sound. It's her. Creak, creak. Steady footsteps came from outside the door, and a tall and slender figure also came into the eyes of Lin Wana and Wan Qiu. Wow, there is such a graceful, handsome, and extraordinary young man in the Fan Mansion. Hiss, is it him? Why is he here? Is he a guest of the Fan Mansion, or a relative who came here to visit? Whether it's Wan Qiu or Lin Wana, although they were in different moods, they were also surprised by Luo Wen's appearance and temperament, but they didn't come up with the most correct idea. Is he Fan Zan? Miss Lin, it seems that we are destined to meet. Fan Zan has met the princess. What? He is Fan Zan, the illegitimate son of the Fan family who is going to marry my lady? No, 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 it's impossible. How could he be the man who spoke frivolously and did those things in the carriage when they met face to face on the street that day? Lin Wana's heart was in turmoil. It seemed difficult for her to connect the handsome man who left a perfect image for her with the vulgar, obscene, and notorious Fan Zan. However, it seems that only such an extraordinary young man in front of him can match the masterpiece climbing the heights. Thinking of the original work in her sleeves that she had finally asked for from her brother, the prince, Lin Wana finally calmed down her excitement and enthusiasm. As for the Fan Zan in the carriage that day, it seemed that there must be some misunderstanding, otherwise the voices would not match. Master Fan, I'm sorry to bother you by coming here without your permission. Oh no, I'm here to cancel the engagement. How should I start now? Oh, so the Prince of Jing gave you the poem I wrote. It's fate. What a coincidence. However, although the poem written while climbing a high mountain is full of ambition and artistic conception, it is not suitable for a lady like Miss Lin. Let me ask my sister to send you another gift later. Ah. Lin Wana covered her mouth, her eyes full of surprise. She was so embarrassed just now, seeing Fan Zan become the man she had been thinking about, and she didn't know how to explain her purpose. Suddenly, she touched the calligraphy in her sleeve, and suddenly she had an idea. She said that she came here to ask for advice on poetry and songs, and finally she breathed a sigh of relief. How could Luo Wen not feel the panic in Lin Wana's eyes and the aura of attraction that made her heart flutter? However, it was always a good thing that they both had each other in their hearts. As for Lin Wana still couldn't believe it when she saw him for the first time, and when she heard him say that he was Fan Zan, her eyes were complicated, and her emotions fluctuated greatly. Luo Wen didn't hold on tightly. After all, who doesn't have some worries and secrets of their own? Oh, then Wana would like to thank Mr. Fan first. I really didn't expect that there would be such a coincidence in the world. Swish, I hid under the altar to eat chicken legs secretly, and now I have lost my identity and came to visit rashly. Lin Wana's pretty face immediately flushed and became extremely shy. Hiss, cough, cough, Cough. The violent fluctuations in her mood, although she was happy and excited, still involved the hidden illness in her body, especially the chest area, which felt like it was torn by sharp claws, and seemed extremely painful. Oh, no, it must be, because she has been exposed to the wind for too long, and her illness has started to flare up again. Miss, let's go back home and take medicine, otherwise. Tuberculosis? Every beautiful woman who appears in the plot is either mentally ill, or weak and sickly, or heartless like a silly girl. But fortunately, Fan Ruoruo is her sister, and he can take care of her. Even if the system time is up, she can ask her if she is willing to live with her in another world. If she can't bear to leave here, she can also use Xinhua Fang as her backing to protect her for the rest of her life. But, swish, Mr. Fan, what are you doing? Luo Wen had previously observed etiquette and kept a certain distance from Linwana, but now he crossed the other side and walked directly to Linwana's side and even held her hand on her soft hand. Dong dong, dong dong, no, we should do it now. Linwana, who obviously had the wrong idea, had a pounding heart. She just buried her head in shyness, and even the discomfort in her chest and throat was somewhat suppressed. It really verified the saying that love makes you full with water, while indifference makes you feel cold in a golden house. Mr. Fan seems to be checking your pulse. Linwana only felt the heat rising up all over her body, and the uncomfortable and painful feeling disappeared without a trace. She thought she was too nervous and shy, so she didn't care. In fact, of course, it was the trace of spiritual power that Luo Wen brought into her body that played a role. In the world, it is not so easy and common to generate electricity with love. This pill is a recipe I found from an ancient recipe. It is specially used to treat congenital diseases related to the 5 internal organs. Miss Lin, are you willing to believe it next time? In order to avoid unnecessary trouble and not wanting to explain too much, Luo Wen took out a sheep fat jade bottle from his sleeve and poured out the only bushandan inside. It is not a spiritual medicine, but it is better than a spiritual medicine. This is a higher level than the spiritual medicine essence that Luo Wen made for Fan Ruoruo. It can't be said to be a higher level. This statement seems to make Luo Wen seem very biased. The Bushan pill is called a half-step spiritual medicine because it can cure human flesh and bones. Its main function is to cure diseases and save people. The essence of spiritual medicine is the various nutrients extracted, which allows ordinary people who do not have the talent for cultivation to gradually develop spiritual power induction, strengthen their bodies, and be immune to all diseases. And Luo Wen, after more than 10 years of stealing, Fan Ruoruo has almost reached the most basic conditions for practicing the Zion Gong Fa. With Luo Wen's strength, of course, he could force her to use spiritual power to draw ki into her body and directly cross the natural chasm of entering the Tao. However, this is a method of forcing things to grow. Without Luo Wen's more help, Fan Ruoruo would always be stuck at that step, and her life would eventually come to an end. This is certainly not what he wants to see. I believe you. Gurgle. The emerald green pill in Luo Wen's palm looked a bit like some kind of crystal, and it felt even harder. But after Linwana swallowed it, it automatically began to decompose and melt, and then penetrated into her limbs. This pure girl full of fairy spirit is a person with a decisive personality, and Luo Wen's favor and love for her also increased by 1 point. Chapter 425 Night Tour. Hu the empty side street should have been a bustling place. Gurgle, gurgle. The roadside stoves were also steaming, and the aroma of meat buns was wafting everywhere. Hiss, squeak, squeak. Delicious, delicious. Well, the prosperous atmosphere of this street scene is really intoxicating, with the smell of fireworks. The young man wearing golden jade, a gorgeous dress, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, and a noble temperament, and he was the second prince who came out of the Jingwang mansion. Haha, I like this feeling of having fun with the people, but I don't like the hustle and bustle of the crowd, alas. Shrugging helplessly, the second prince threw the last bite of meat bunskin in his hand into his mouth. He was born noble, so he should be free to eat buns, but looking at his behavior, he seemed to cherish food. However, he was blocked by the personal soldiers on both sides of the street, preventing the civilians from showing their figures. Such a high profile street closure behavior, but it seems a bit contradictory. Your Highness, how should I respond to Fan Zian? Creak, creak. Li Hangcheng, the Prince of Jing, looked speechless, as if he could not understand his cousin's behavior. However, since they were different in status, he just pretended not to see it. Oh, Fan Zian invited you to go on a night cruise along the Liujing River. Since he took the initiative to mention it, just agree. The second prince's calm appearance and unusual behavior, perhaps only he himself understood that Fan Zian in the morning really surprised him too much. No, it was shocking. Only through such actions could he calm his panicked heart. With one palm, Zibian's personal sword, which he regarded as his life, was blasted into pieces. Zibian was his personal guard who he regarded as his right-hand man. He was an 8th rank swordsman, but he was not able to withstand the power of Fan Zian's palm. No, it was not a palm, but just a casual wave of his hand. How unfathomable was Fan Zian's strength, a young master. It's just that I'm a little undecided about where to set the place. Huh, forget it. No matter what, I should confirm it again. Oh, it's interesting for an extraordinary person like him to go out to seek pleasure. Where exactly should we go? Of course, we should go to the best flower boats and the best courtesans. Otherwise, how can we be worthy of our Mr. Fan? Haha, yes, Han Cheng understands. Brother, this is the most famous art gallery on the banks of the Liujing River. It has many flower boats and a large number of courtesans. The top one is said to have royal blood, which makes countless talented and romantic men yearn for it. It's a pity that no one can be her guest. By the way, the Guo family has always had strict house rules. Even the playboy Guo Baokan must return to the house before midnight. Zuxianju is located on the banks of the winding and wide Liujing River. Although the sky has just dimmed, the guests in front of the door have been flowing in an endless stream and gradually becoming dense. And those big red lanterns were reflected on the faces of those gorgeous and pretty women, making those women who were already dressed boldly and wearing seductive makeup even more charming, making people unable to move. Fan Ruoruo, who was wearing a scholar's long gown, used some means to make even the position of her chest less abrupt. However, she had several layers of belts wrapped around her waist, which still could not change the fact that she was weak. Her face was white and clean, and her thin willow leaf eyebrows were deliberately thickened. However, her facial features were delicate, her skin was as smooth as a baby's, and her lips were rosy and shiny. I'm afraid that, if a young man like him walked in, he could only find a special fetish to arrange a face-to-face with him. He didn't look like he was looking for a girl. Fan Ruoro thought that she would not be seen through by makeup and disguise, but Luo Wen, from a man's perspective, still felt that she underestimated Xiangxian. Ruoro, it's enough for you to come here. When His Royal Highness arrives later, it will be inappropriate for you to go in with him. Go back first. I promise you that I won't do anything to let down your future sister-in-law. The little girl was eager to try. I really didn't know where she got so much curiosity. However, as her brother, Luo Wen certainly couldn't take her to visit a brothel. As for the fact that Linwana was the temple girl, Luo Wen also explained it to Fan Ruoruo. This time, it can be regarded as a death of her idea of continuing to matchmake, right? Ah, but I've come all the way here. The key is that I haven't been in there once. Brother, can you take me in to observe? The sweet voice, while shaking Luo Wen's arm with her little hand. Fan Ruoruo was confident that with such a coquettish method, she didn't believe that Fan Zian would not agree. Hey, this is a matter of principle. What's the point of seeing a grown woman like you going in there? And if Father knew that I was the one who brought you in there, tell me, how will he punish me? Hiss, well, alright, then I'll go home and wait for you. You'd better control yourself. Your sister-in-law is the one you like, and your engagement is approaching. When the time comes, you can go to her to resolve that. Oh my god. Luo Wen carefully recalled all the novels he had written for Fan Ruoruo, and the books he had sent her. There couldn't be such a relevant description. Then how did she know all this? It was Miss Wang, Ruolan, who told me. Perhaps she saw the surprise on Luo Wen's face. Fan Ruoro explained with a blushing face. Ruoro, keep a distance from that Ruolan in the future. Don't get too close to her. How dare she tell you everything? Oh, Sister Ruolan also heard about it from others and read it in books. She is a decent lady from a noble family. Well, it would have been better if Fan Ruoro didn't explain. Once she explained, Luo Wen understood what the ladies from noble families were doing in private. At the same time, the image of her best friend Ruolan was completely sold out by her. No wonder in the operas and rumors, it was always about which lady eloped with someone, disregarding all worldly etiquette for love. After all this time, it turned out to be a girl who was more curious and yearning for love between men and women. Please come in, young master, haha. The old procuress laughed so hard that her body shook with joy. Perhaps it was a bit inappropriate to say that she was old. She was no more than 30 years old. She was just wearing heavy makeup and had a worldly air, so she looked very experienced and mature. Young Masterly, sorry to have kept you waiting. Under the guidance of the procuress, we passed the gatehouse, the hall, and the back hall. The winding path suddenly brightened up in front of us. Among the pavilions, rockery and strange rocks, in a quiet shallow bay, there were more than a dozen huge flower boats that were more than 20 feet long and several stories high. On the stone arch bridge that was the only way to the dock, a young man in a gorgeous dress with gold thread patterns was leaning on the railing to look at the beautiful scenery outside the river bay. No, it is Brother Fan who has such a refined taste. Lee will definitely accompany him at the risk of his life. Let's go. I have already booked a seat. Haha. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you, sir. I'll take my leave. The old procuress, who received a silver ingot from Li Hangcheng, bowed and took her leave with a smile as beautiful as a flower, and Luo Wen, who was supported on the shoulder by the Prince of Jing, had to relax his muscles to avoid accidentally hurting him. By the way, Brother Fan, I sent your poem over. Okay. Following Li Hangcheng's gaze, a Wumeng boat was cutting through the water and heading towards a small flower boat dozens of feet away. It was only more than 10 feet long, and the hull was only one layer on the deck, but the decoration was extremely exquisite, like someone's exclusive flower boat. Who is that flower boat? Oh, the new courtesan, Miss Celia. She is very different from other courtesans. She has just become famous, but has never taken the initiative to show up to meet guests. Many wealthy guests have spent huge sums of money, but all in vain. However, I don't know if it is a match made in heaven. Miss Celia only likes poetry and songs. With your excellent works, you will definitely move her heart. Let's go in and have a couple of drinks and wait for a while. Haha, Li Hangcheng acted very familiar with this place, like a veteran, and from his tone, he seemed to be curious about the woman on the flower boat. Luo Wen naturally let it go. He came here today just to find Jiuo Baokan. In fact, it is not so important in whose embroidery room you spend a night. However, Li Hangcheng, the Prince of Jing, went to the trouble of sending his poems to this Miss Celia and did not hesitate to express his praise in words. I'm afraid he has some intention, right? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.